Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are continuing our reading of the Kybalion. And remember that if you are just joining us, if you haven't seen any of the other parts, that's completely fine. You don't have to know the other parts to enjoy this video. So we have a lot of interesting chapters that we're going to get to in this one. And to be honest, the contents of some of these chapters annoy me a bit. I don't quite agree with them. So this is going to be an interesting stream as I give you, of course, always the Hyperian perspective and the perspective of ontological mathematics as we examine the reading of the Kybalion. Remember that you can use the super chat feature to ask questions as I go along. I'll be answering questions and things like this as we read. And I'm excited to get started. And, I just finished working out a few minutes ago, so I'm a little out of breath, but I'm excited to relax with you guys and read this book. Also, I don't know why, but last night I was recording new videos, and for some reason the makeup is making me really break out. I don't know. Yeah, you can see. I don't know why the hell suddenly it decided to make me break out. So that's annoying, but whatever. Who gives a fuck? We are going to start the reading. But let me say hello to everyone first. Let me jump into the comments and see who is here before we get started. Let's see. Hello, everyone. Hello, Gina, Snowy, Morgana, Amanda, Jordy, Lizzie, Kizzy, Trent. Hello, Horkpaw. Good evening, everyone. All right, so we are going to jump into the reading. And once again, remember, if you have questions, send them my way via the super chat, and I will be seeing them. Jules says, we love you with or without makeup. Well, thank you. Not everyone agrees. Some people are very rude about that. People seem to think they can dictate my appearance, which they cannot. I will look however I please in this illusory dimension that we exist in. God damn it, I will choose the expression of my avatar, and I don't give a fuck who it pleases. But let us begin this reading. Happy Monday, by the way. I hope everyone is holding up well in quarantine. If you're seeing this from the future, this was recorded while everyone was quarantined in that great, tragic time in history that you'll be hearing about. Okay, so let us begin. I'll have it up on screen. So that you can follow along. So, the all in all. While, this is a bit of a tongue twister here, but while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge, the Kybalion. So, let's replace the all with the absolute. In Hyperianism, we call the all the absolute. Let's replace it with the absolute to see if we can't make this a little more clear. While all is in the absolute, it is equally true that the absolute is in all. So this is saying that while everything is in the absolute, it's equally true that the absolute is in everything. So if we think about, how can we understand this? If we think about a hologram to help us better understand this metaphorically speaking, we can think that, remember, if you have the light source and then the holographic image it produces, it's true that the light is in the hologram. It pervades everything. So it's essentially saying that the absolute is all reality, and because it is all reality, it is in everything, and everything is in it. That's the best way to understand it. It is all reality, so everything that exists is in it, and it is in everything. So, while that's basically what it means, right? So it's really not that hard to understand. It's all reality, so it's in everything, and everything is in it, because it's everything. It's just a little bit of a tongue twister, the way they say it. So let us continue. How often have the majority of people heard repeated the statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all, and how little have they suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these carelessly uttered words. The commonly used expression is a survival of the ancient Hermetic maxim quoted above. As the Kybalion says, "To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. And this being so, let us seek this truth, the understanding of which means so much." In this statement of truth, this Hermetic maxim, is concealed one of the greatest philosophical, scientific, and religious truths. It is a very powerful truth indeed. We have given you the Hermetic teaching regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. The universe is mental, and it is a manifestation in the mind of the Absolute. This is the thought, the shared dream of reality. As the Kybalion says in the passage quoted above, all is in the all. Everything is in the Absolute. But note also the correlated statement, that it is equally true that the all is in all, that the Absolute is in everything. This apparently contradictory statement is reconciled under the law of paradox. It is moreover an exact Hermetic statement of the relations existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen now all is in the all. Now let us examine the other aspect of the subject. You can imagine this is sort of like a dream as well, right? You are in a dream, but the dream is in your mind. The dream is in your mind, but you are also in a dream, right? When you go to sleep and dream at night, you're in the dream, but the dream is also in your mind. So it's in you, but you're in it at the same time. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in, remaining within. By the way, I see the super chats. I'll answer the questions in just a moment. I just want to read a little bit. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in, remaining within, inherent, abiding within its universe. So the all is immanent in its universe, and in every part, particle, unit, or combination within the universe. This statement is usually illustrated by the teachers by a reference of the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the student to form a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form. The favorite example being that of the author or dramatist forming an idea of his characters, or a painter or sculptor forming an image of an ideal that he wishes to express by his art. In each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence and being solely within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, dramatist, painter, or sculptor, is in a sense immanent in, remaining within, or abiding within the mental image also. In other words, the entire virtue, life, spirit of reality in the mental image is derived from the immanent mind of the thinker. Consider this for a moment until the idea is grasped. I'm definitely going to get to your questions in just a moment, but I want to explain this very important idea, and I don't want to lose my thought here. So to take a modern example, let's say that Othello, Iago, Hamlet, Lear, Richard III, existing merely in the mind of Shakespeare at the time of their conception or creation. And yet Shakespeare also existed within each of these characters, giving them their vitality, spirit, and action. Whose is the spirit of the characters that we know as Micawber, Oliver Twist, Uriah Heep? Is it Dickens? Or have each of these characters a personal spirit independent of their creator? So basically, it's saying that you can imagine Charles Dickens having creating the character Oliver Twist. Right? You're an author and you create a character. We can use a more modern example of J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. So let's say that J.K. Rowling thinks up in her mind the image and character of Harry Potter. Well, you could say that Harry Potter is in the mind of J.K. Rowling, but you could also say that J.K. Rowling is in Harry Potter. A little weird, but is in Harry Potter in that she created the idea of Harry Potter. So you have all these different concepts going on at the same time. You have Harry Potter as an idea and a character that was created, and then you have the idea that Harry Potter exists in the mind of J.K. Rowling, and then the idea that J.K. Rowling exists in Harry Potter. So you have the characters, like a seemingly independent character, but actually exists within the mind of J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling exists within Harry Potter. And what the Kybalion is essentially saying is this is very analogous to how reality works. So we can have reality where, again, if you think of when you have a dream and you are in the seat of the dream character, there's that dream character and you are in the dream character, and that dream character is also in your mind. And you can also think of it in terms of reality. This shared dream is an expression of the absolute mind. And within this absolute mind, there are avatars, which is me and you. And we, as eternal monads, link to these avatars, okay? So, in a sense, these avatars exist within the mind of the absolute, which is the collective mind. We, as monads, link to these avatars. And so we are within, in a certain sense, these avatars as filtered versions of our mind, right? Because our ego consciousness is not us in our entirety. Our ego consciousness is the filtered version of our eternal monadic higher selves, okay? So we have our eternal higher monadic selves, us as a monad. Let me bring up some freaking diagrams here, okay? And I'm gonna get to the super chats and answer the questions in a second. It's just, this is kind of a complicated subject, so I want to explain it while it's fresh in my mind, because it's kind of, you have things within things, and it can be a little bit tricky, a little bit of a tongue twister, a mind twister. So let me see, where are my diagrams here? You guys know that I always use diagrams during these, so we're looking for, let me just find them here. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is you as a monad, an eternal mind, okay? You are an eternal mind, right? This exists separately from your avatar. When you connect to an avatar, the brain and the nervous system filters all your mental data, and it comes out as the particular person mentally that you are today. So you have you as an eternal mind, and then you as your ego consciousness, which is associated with your avatar. So there's you as the eternal mind, and then you as your avatar, which is your ego consciousness, but your eternal mind is in it, in a certain sense, not physically in it, but in it, that it makes it run and operate it. But it's not equal, it's a watered down, filtered version of it. And then, of course, you have the absolute. And the absolute is, if you imagine each one of these circles as being a monad, this physical existence that we exist in right now is a manifestation of the shared dream of the absolute, okay? So our physical bodies exist within the mind of the absolute, which is the collective thought forms of all minds in existence. We, as a monad, link to an avatar that will be formed within the mind of the absolute. And then that avatar filters and modifies our particular ego consciousness that we have and associate with who we are. So you can see we're going above and beyond what the Kybalion is saying. The Kybalion is trying to express this, but in a little bit of a convoluted way, because the Kybalion does not express that the all is made up of myriad monads. The Kybalion makes it seem like the all is just one mind and that's it. It does not talk about the individual monads, which is crucial because we are all eternal, individual, indestructible infinite minds, which are nodes of the absolute. The absolute is just not one thing. Okie dokie. Let me, so we're going to continue. Let me stop right here, okay? Because I got that thought out. And let me see what happened. So let's see, big shout out to Blue Raven and Pandora, Jonathan Marr, Cheryl Lorenzo, and Randall Roth. Thank you so much for helping us wake up the world. Let's see, Cheryl Lorenzo, hello Cheryl. I know Cheryl. When I used to perform years ago at the Freak Show, Cheryl would come in all the time. Cheryl donated $50. You're awesome. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciate that. You are the best. I hope you're doing well, by the way. Blue Raven donated $150. Whoa, wait, did that even pop up yet? Jesus. Okay. You guys aren't about... It's going to pop up right over here. But Blue Raven just donated $150. Thank you so much. And Tammy Horton just donated $100. Wow. Tammy and Blue Raven, thank you so much. You guys are incredible. We always do, I don't know why, but we do a color, we do a color change when we get a big donation like that. Holy shit, you know, guys, thank you so much for your support. That means the world to me. I can't tell you how much it means to see that you guys really enjoy these readings. I love doing them with you guys, and seeing that kind of response means the world to me. Holy shit. Let me jump into the comments here too, just so I can see what you guys are saying. Yeah, we believe in you and support you. Thank you guys so much. Wow, Blue Raven, Tammy Horton, and Cheryl, you guys are incredible. Again, I don't know what to say when that happens, but my God, ad astra. This is exactly what allows me to continue doing these sort of things. So I don't know what to say, but let me continue. So Jonathan Marr says, thoughts on meditation. It changed. Virginia Campbell, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you for helping us wake up the world. So thoughts on meditation. It changed my life a lot. Meditation is interesting. Watch my video that I do on void states. Queen Last Light, thank you for helping us wake up the world. Queen Last Light says, I'm here. Love being read to in the diagrams. Oh, well, I'm so happy to hear that. That means the world to me. So my thoughts on meditation. Check out a video I did on void states. Void states are similar in a sense to meditation. However, it's directed. You could call it direct. You could call it teleotic meditation. Meditation with a telos. Meditation with a purpose. So if you look at meditation in a certain way, in Hyperianism, it's called void states. And the reason why is because meditation is a really ill-defined concept. And some people use meditation to try to eliminate themselves completely. And we don't want to do that. We want to use void states as a tool to augment ourselves. So to hear my thoughts on meditation, look at the videos that I did on void states, and I'm happy to hear it's helping you, though. You are most likely doing them in a very beneficial way. So definitely check out the video that I did on void states. That's an excellent question. You'll be able to find that in my channel. And my God, thank you guys so much. Madame Cross, so nice to see you. Madame Cross says, here just sipping tea and listening. And geez, Blue Raven and Tammy, I just thank you. My goodness. Thank you. Okay, so let's continue our reading. I'm going to continue my reading now. And again, if you have a question, super chat that question. It'll pop up and I will answer. I will answer. So, we were continuing where so I just explained this in terms of Hyperianism and the absolute and avatars and monads. This is the correct way to conceptualize it. Let's continue what the metaphor that the Kybalion is talking about here. Okay, so the Kybalion is talking about an author. They're using Charles Dickens as an example that has a character in their mind. So, the law of paradox explains that both propositions are true. Viewed from the proper viewpoints, Macabre is both Macabre and yet Dickens. And again, while Macabre may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with Macabre. Man, like Macabre, may explain, the spirit of my creator is inherent within me, and yet I am not he. How different this from the shocking half-truth so vociferously announced by certain of the half-wise who fill the air with their raucous cries of, I am God. Imagine poor Macabre, or the sneaky Uriah Heep crying, I am Dickens, or some of the lowly clods in one of Shakespeare's play, eloquently announcing that I am Shakespeare. The all is in the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the all. And still the wonder remains that though the earthworm exists merely as a lowly thing, created and having its being solely within the mind of the all, yet the all is immanent in the earthworm, and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery then than this of the all in the all and the all in all? Okay, so here is a contention that I have. I do not like this perspective that tries to make you seem lowly. All right, I don't like this perspective because it's basically saying the earthworm, the all is in the earthworm, and the earthworm is in the all, but the earthworm shouldn't declare, I am the all, and I am God. So basically it's saying that like you as a human being are in the mind of the absolute, but you shouldn't claim that I am God. And I don't like this mentality of trying to make you feel lowly and lesser. So what I want to explain, but they have a certain point, but I do not like the way they express it because it's very old world order mentality where it's trying to take power away from you. And I don't like that idea. So here's the thing. You are an eternal mind, right? You are an eternal mind, and you are connected to this avatar, and you are, as an eternal mind, gets filtered into your particular ego consciousness. So there's a bunch of different perspectives going on here. There's you as your ego consciousness, there's you as an eternal mind, and then there is us, we, as the absolute. Now, yes, it's true that it's true that you as the your particular ego consciousness is not equal to you as your eternal mind. But this does not mean that you should feel lowly or less than. You should realize the infinite power and potential that you have within you. So you have the infinite power and potential of you as an eternal mind. And then above and beyond that, we have the universal I, which is all of us together. So we are the absolute, and we are each eternal minds, and it's true, we are filtered and whatnot. But okay, so think of the earthworm. Think of the earthworm. An earthworm is also an eternal mind. An eternal mind has connected to the avatar of the earthworm, and so that earthworm is also an eternal mind, which also has that infinite potential within it, and also is a portion of the absolute. So I don't like the perspective of the Kybalion, which tries to make you feel lower and lesser. Our perspective is that yes, you are being expressed in a certain way right now, and the earthworm is being expressed in a certain way right now, but we are the absolute. We are God. All right, we are eternal minds, and we are the absolute when taken together. So yes, is it true that the absolute is above us individually? Yes, but that is what we are from a certain perspective. From the universal perspective, this is what we are. And from the monadic perspective, this is what we are. And so, again, I don't like this old world order mindset of... because the old world order mindset almost wants you to be like, that's so far above and apart and removed from me, and almost like you should worship it. And no. This is us. This is within us. This is nothing to worship. It's our potential. It's what we will become. It's what we will be. It's what we are striving for. It is our teleological aim. It is everything within us. So it's what we're striving for, our potential, all that. So don't have this lowly, lesser mentality. And always remember, there is nothing apart from us. It's all us. And there's nothing external to worship. Super important to have all that in mind. You know what? I'm going to jump into the comments real quick here and see if there are any questions about that, because that's so important. I'm just going to look at this real quick. Richard Magic says, what about goddesses? This is so funny because in the last stream we just talked about gods and goddesses and how we should just use the word God because it's not gender specific. So the absolute has no gender. When I say God, I'm not referring to any particular gender. It can be gods, it can be goddesses, it can be non-binary. It doesn't matter. The absolute is above gender. There is no gender. Xantu, thank you for helping us wake up the world. Xantu says, why do we have this urge to learn and seek truth? What are your thoughts? If you kind of know and feel unity, what else is there? What are your thoughts about this? Yes, absolutely. Okay, great question. So let me answer this question right now. Why do we have the urge to learn? Here, I'll leave it. Why do we have the urge to learn and seek truth? The reason that we have the urge to learn and seek truth is because the purpose of existence is it's the absolute coming to know itself. That is what it is. And what are your thoughts if you've kind of know and feel unity? What else is there? So that's another question. So why do we have the urge to learn and seek truth? And then also, if I know that there's a unity, aren't I already done? Well, let me explain how Hegel put this. So Hegel knew that reality is a system of what he called logic, but we know this is mathematical data. Very similar, though, mathematical data. And, so let's say reason, all right? This is a rational reality. And the absolute is a you can think of it like a code that generates this dream world and throws itself into it. And then the whole purpose of evolution is to come to self-knowledge of ourselves. So the reason why that we have the urge to learn and seek the truth is because we are a system of mathematical information that it's trying to solve itself, right? Think of reality like a puzzle that gets shaken up and then is trying to piece itself back together again. And since this is a mathematical reality, it's a dream world that gets generated, we get thrown into it, and then all of existence is about trying to learn and understand where we are, what we are, and why we are here. That's the three things you have to know: where we are, what you are, and why you're here. And the reason why, as Hegel knew, this also goes through stages of understanding, right? Religion and art, he called Vorstellung, which is German for like picture thinking. So the absolute first comes to know itself through picture thinking, which is like stories and metaphors. But in the next stage of our evolution, we come to know ourselves through reason. Okay? So reality is a self-solving mathematical equation. This is why we have the urge to understand, know, learn, and grow. And the reason why it's not enough to just kind of know it, you have to know it rationally. Now, why do you have to know it rationally? Because knowing it through picture thinking isn't accurate. Right? Look at all the problems that religions have caused through picture thinking. God created the earth in 7 days, and, well, guess what? That led to thinking that we should kill homosexuals and that women are above men. Like, look at all the crazy, all the witch burnings, the Crusades. Look at all the crazy things that erupted from religious picture thinking. That's why that just having an idea or picture thinking is not enough. We must know it rationally. Excuse me. Another reason why that we must know it rationally is because this is a self-solving mathematical equation, reality. And so the reason we have to know it rationally is because existence is reason. And to fully know ourselves as existence, which is reason, we have to know it rationally. We have to know reason rationally because existence is reason. Let me explain it to you this way. Reality is mathematical. These are mathematical waves, frequency patterns. We must understand frequency patterns with frequency. If we try to understand it with something else, it's a distortion. If you try to understand mathematics, frequency, reason with pictures, with stories, there is a mediation and a distortion. The only way you can know something truly is if you know it through what it is. If you know it through something else, there's going to be a distortion. Right? Does that make sense? If there is a thing over here, for you to know it truly, you have to know what it is through what that thing is. You have to know frequency through frequency. You have to know reason through reason. If you try and know frequency through English language or pictures in a book, there is a distortion. So hopefully that makes sense. Alexis Sanchez, thank you so much for helping us wake up the world. So what are emotions then? And I'm going to answer these questions real quick, and then we'll get back to our reading. Star Search Reject, thank you so much for helping us wake up the world. Star Search Reject says, hi there, I've been a subscriber for a while now, and I'm happy to finally be able to contribute. I absolutely adore you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Much love. That means the world to me. Thank you so much. I'm happy that you've been a subscriber for a while now and are watching and enjoying these streams and my videos. That means the world to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Cheers to you. Okay, so Alexis Sanchez says, what are emotions then? Everything that we have, whether they are emotions, senses, smells, tastes, all these things are interpretations of mathematical data. And we come to realize and understand reality in different ways. So first we come to understand reality, right? So we use our sense. If we want to know ourselves, we have to survive, right? You can't understand reality without surviving. So in evolution, first let's say we develop the use of our senses so that we can run away from predators and not get eaten. That's why, our senses are attuned in a certain way. They're attuned to pick up things in a certain range of the electromagnetic spectrum. We can't detect quantum mechanical fluctuations because that's not useful for dodging a predator. Our senses have developed in a certain way. Now, emotions are very important. Emotions are something that give us a drive in a certain way, right? So let's say that I'm laying in bed. If I have no emotion, if I have no will, I'm not going to get up out of bed. I'm just going to lay there because I have no desire. But if I have some sort of desire to go do something, then that will drive me to go do it. Right? We have a desire for knowledge. Emotions are a tricky thing because we have to define exactly what we mean by emotion. But we can see that we have a desire for knowledge. We have a desire for love. What is true love? True love is unity. That's what true love is, right? It's a unifying function, and hate is a separating function. So all these desires are what drive us. It's what makes the will is what makes the mathematical equation go. We would just sit there with no trajectories. They shape our trajectories. Just like gravity, being the curvature of space-time, causes planets to orbit, you can imagine emotions as being a certain factor in forming our trajectories, how we move, what choices we make. Our emotions need to be governed by reason, because emotions can lead us astray, just like our senses can lead us astray, just like everything doing with the physical domain of the holos can lead us astray. Okay, let's see, wait. Stargazer, is that who I missed? Stargazer, thank you so much for helping us wake up the world. Star Rominsky says, hello Morgue, I'm late here because I was making an edit. Well, I hope your edit is going well. Okay. So thank you guys very much. I hope that I answered your question sufficiently. And let's get back to our reading, because my goodness, what are we talking about here? The title of this video is Levels of Consciousness and Planes of Existence. So let's make sure we get there. But right now we're talking, okay, so we were talking about how, the all in all don't have this perspective of having a lowly place. Realize that you have the potential of the absolute within you. Are you the absolute right now? Right this second? No, you're filtered through a particular ego consciousness. But that's what we want to wake up the absolute. We want to build, and that's what we're doing as Hyperians. We are the universe become conscious. We are the portion of the absolute that's becoming conscious of ourselves. Those of us who are Hyperians and truly understand what we're doing, the most conscious of us are the portion of the absolute becoming conscious of itself. Excuse me. Okay. The student will, of course, realize that the illustrations given above are necessarily imperfect and inadequate. Yes, they are. Remember, this is Vorstellung, picture thinking. And this is why, I have some contentions here. Okay, but anyway. For they represent the creation of mental images in finite minds, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind. And the difference between the two poles separate them. And yet it is merely a matter of degree, the same principles in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each as above, so below. As above, so below. And in the degree that man realizes the existence of the indwelling spirit immanent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. So realize that you as an eternal mind is within you. In a certain sense. Metaphorically, we're saying it's within you, not literally. You have the potential. It is what you are. I don't want to, see, picture thinking. You think like how Christians like, oh, the soul, it's inside of me. It's like right here. No. Really, you as a mind exist within the source, the domain of the mind, and you link to an avatar to interact in the holos. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that because we need to keep reading. By God. You see how we could just pick a sentence in here and spend 3 hours talking about that goddamn sentence. But let's not do that. Let's not. Okay. So, in the degree that you realize that you have the indwelling spirit, the absolute within, this is what spiritual development means. The recognition, realization, and manifestation of the spirit within us. This is true. Replace the spirit with the absolute, which is what we are. All right, see the danger. Just remember that's what we are. Try to remember this last definition, that of spiritual development. It contains the truth of true religion. So we want to recognize, realize, and manifest the absolute. And that's what we as Hyperians are doing right here, right now, on Earth. I don't want to talk so much more about, I just keep wanting to go off on tangents. See, Hegel calls this creating the kingdom of heaven on Earth. See, the kingdom of heaven, we're like Christianity. It's like, oh, we'll die and we'll go to heaven. It's no, we as Hyperians will create the kingdom of heaven on Earth. We are see, do you see the difference? We don't worship God and think we're going to die and go to heaven. We are God becoming conscious on earth now and building our citadel, our kingdom of heaven on earth. Our kingdom come, our will be done on earth and in heaven and throughout the universe. So we are God becoming conscious and building our kingdom of heaven on earth now. You see the huge difference? This empowering, we are God, we are becoming conscious, we are building our kingdom here, now. And this is our goal, to build New Terra. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancements of beings in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter, the highest being separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all, and upward and onward along this scale of life everything is moving, all are on the path whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward in spite of all seemingly contradictory appearances. Such is the message of the illumined. And as Hyperians, our striving is towards the omega point, towards unity and perfection. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspect of being, projects its will towards its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that so in Hyperianism, this is the source, and the perfect source, which is perfect unity, fractures. We're being very metaphorical here, because in truth the source is always perfect, but fractures, just like, remember the hologram and the light. The light itself never fractures, but when it goes to the holographic plate, it fractures in a certain sense to form the hologram. So the light itself never changes, but the portion that forms the hologram does. Just like the source itself never changes, but the portion that forms the hologram, the holos, the physical dimension, does. This is the realm of being, and this is why Parmenides said that reality is unchanging and is pure being, becomes transformed into the ever-flowing motion of becoming. This is where Heraclitus said that reality was in constant motion, in constant flux. So we have becoming and being. Again, you would think paradoxical, but you see we can unify them. Okay. The all, in its aspect of being, projects its will towards its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage of involution, in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. This is true. Prior to evolution, there is an involution. You go from perfect harmony to an involution state, and then once it reaches maximum involution, a process of evolution begins. So this is very, very, very true. You have this process of the perfect source, the absolute, fracturing and then throwing itself into its creation. And as it does this, an involution occurs, right? Going from a higher to a lower. And then you go from a lower to a higher, which is evolution. So you have this continuous cyclical process of evolution, involution. And again, you guys, you can even see this manifested in the source formula. Cycles are in everything. See? You see that the process is in everything. It's in everything. The world works in a cyclical way because everything is cyclical. It's based on a cyclic nature. By the way, thank you, Sardonic, for helping us wake up the world. Okay. This process is a stage of involution in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. This process, the light throws itself into the hologram and believes itself to be the hologram and forgets that it's the light, you see? The light throws itself into the hologram, thinks it's the hologram, and forgets it's the light. And then the whole process of evolution is the hologram beginning to recollect, realize, and know that, oh wait, I am the light. I'm not the hologram. The hologram's just an illusion. I am the light. By the way, in probably 2 days, I'm releasing a video about holograms. So look forward to that. Get excited. Good timing here. This process is believed by the Hermetists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. I like this metaphor. This is cool. If instead of wrapped we use the word wrapped, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. I like this idea. All right, this is cool. This is cool. So, using an analogy, it's like an artist or writer or inventor who gets so wrapped up in their mental creation they almost forget of their own existence, right? Imagine that you were writing a story and you got so involved that you forgot that you were the writer and you thought that you were the character. That's a cool metaphor. I like that. That's cool. Okay. This involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of the divine energy, just as the evolutionary state is called the indrawing. The extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of creation as a coming home idea being held in the Hermetic teachings. I have a perfect diagram for this that we use in Book 0. And let me see if I can find it extremely fast. If not, too bad. But I'm going to see if I can real quick here, because I have the perfect diagram for this. Oh yes, okay. Here we go. This is perfect. So here's the diagram. Here is unity. Here is perfection, called the final cause or the omega point. It's the same thing. The final cause and the omega point are the same thing. So here we have this separation is called, in the Kybalion, what they're calling involution, and then return is evolution, okay? So this involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring. So this whole bottom half here is what they're calling the outpouring, and what we're calling is separation. The extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all. So this point in the middle here is what they're talking about, the point where they're the furthest removed from the all. Think of unity as being the closest, right? Unity is being closest, so this point here is maximum involution, maximum separation. The furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolution stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a coming home idea. See how you're coming home, right? Coming home to this point. And then you could actually think of this point and this point as being the same. The bottom and the top are actually the same point, okay? So hopefully that diagram helps a bit. This is what they're talking about here. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibrations become lower and lower until finally the urge ceases and the return swing begins. They're being super loose here and metaphorical. And again, this was written in the early 1900s, so it's not, don't think it's super precise, but if you think of these as metaphorical, you'll be on the right track. Just don't get too married to certain words that they're using. But there is the difference that while in the outpouring, the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole, yet from the beginning of the evolution or indrawing stage, there is manifested the law of individualization. That is the tendency to separate into units of force, so that finally that which left the all as unindividualized energy returns to its sources as countless highly developed units of life, having risen higher and higher in the scale by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. So, okay, this, where the terms that they use are just a little, they're not good, okay? They're not the best. So let's put it in terms of Hyperianism. In terms of Hyperianism, my God, let's see, you have the absolute, and in the beginning you have monads, and these monads are very, 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 when the fracture happens and everyone is thrown into the holos, monads are, the energy contents are, remember, these are self-optimizing systems, so these are very unevolved, right? They're linking to single-celled organisms, bacteria or whatever, plant life. But as we evolve mentally, we evolve physically, and it's basically saying that on all different planes, the avatars will evolve, minds will evolve, and then when you reach the point, again, of the omega point, when the absolute is fully conscious of itself, all the monads will have reached maximum evolution and maximum symmetry and maximum harmony. They in the Kybalion, they don't really talk about monads, which is that's one of the two biggest flaws of the Kybalion, are saying that the absolute is unknowable, and thus not putting logic and reason above all, and not properly discussing monads and making the absolute and the all seem like one thing. Okay. The ancient Hermetists used the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all. The word contemplation also being frequently employed, but the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root meaning to reach out, to stretch out, and so the act of attention is really a mental reaching out, extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. Leah Teasley, thank you for helping us wake up the world. So separation, etc. You get it. We're going to just keep plugging on or else we'll never get through this. The Hermetic teaching regarding the process of evolution are that the all, having meditated upon the beginning of the creation, all these metaphors annoy me. Right? Just don't think, the all didn't really meditate. No, it's not like that, but we're just going to keep going. Having thus established the material foundations of the universe, having thought it into existence, then gradually awakens or arouses from its meditation, and in so doing starts into manifestation the process of evolution, on the material, mental, and spiritual planes, successfully and in order. Thus the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross. The units spring into being, the combinations begin to form. Life appears and manifestation in higher and higher forms, and mind becomes more and more in evidence. The vibrations constantly become higher. In short, the entire process of evolution, in all its phases, begins and proceeds according to the established laws of the indrawing process. All of this occupies eons upon eons of man's time, each eon containing countless millions of years. But yet the illumined inform us that the entire creation, including individual and evolution of a universe, is but as the twinkling of the eye to the all. At the end of countless cycles of eons of time, the all withdraws its attention, its contemplation, and meditation of the universe, for the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn into the all, from which it emerged. But mystery of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated, but is infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are merged. Such is the report of the illumined. Okay. See, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated. You could think of this as monads if they would actually just know and talk about monads. But see, their understanding is not concrete. The spirit of each soul is not annihilated. Monads aren't annihilated, but it is infinitely expanded. They are infinitely evolved. The created and the creator are merged. But you see, here is the big backwards part. The all didn't create monads. Monads are eternal. And see, they are completely backwards in this. And this is where you can get so tripped up. The absolute did not create monads. The all did not create monads. Monads create the absolute. Okay? The absolute cannot exist without the individual monads that make it up. And the absolute is a product of each monad realizing and attaining absolute consciousness and working together in harmony. So do not think that the absolute creates monads. That is backwards. But rather, monads form the absolute. The absolute's existence depend on the monad. So do you see how the Kybalion is backwards and inverted in this respect? So that's super important to understand. Okay. The above illustration of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is of course but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a finite example. And yet, as above, so below. The difference is merely in degree. And just as the all arouses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man in time cease from manifesting upon the material plane, and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the divine ego. Did you see the video that I just recently did on shared dreaming? First, we start off in the material plane of the holos. We realize how to work together in harmony and develop a physically harmonious world. Then we realize how to create a collective dream world together, and we can exist in that dream world. You see how it's a pulling back? First we're in the material, the holos. Then once we are perfectly manifested and work together there, we can sort of level up, where then we are existing together in a shared dream world that we have created together. And then we can eventually level up even more, where we don't need any sort of physical existence whatsoever. It's purely and totally mental. So do you see how there is a going up in levels of existence in a certain way? And they're each like training ground, right? All right, let's figure out how we can live on a planet without nuking each other. And on this planet, when we figure that out, we figure out that we're all one in a certain sense, and we can work together. We'll become so in sync, and we'll continue to live together, evolve, develop technology, and all this. Eventually, we'll develop the capability of creating a shared dream world together. So we've now sort of leveled up from this objective holos to our own personal dream holos that we create. Then we can learn there, and then we can level up once again to where it's a purely mental existence. You see how there's this raising. And if you haven't watched that video yet, go watch it. Well, not right now because you're watching my stream. So not right now. But when I'm done, go watch the video on shared dreaming. It's my most recent one. And it's a good one, because all my videos are good. Most of them are great. I'm a little loopy right now. Okay. I'm going to jump into the comments in a minute here. I just want to... It looks like this is long, but it's not. We're going to plow through this chapter, because I think that we've milked everything that they're basically saying out of it. So I'm going to go through it real quick. And I'm going to say hi in the comments, because I just want to. There was one more matter of which we desire to speak in this lesson, and that comes very near to an invasion of the metaphysical field of speculation, although our purpose is merely to show the futility of such speculation. This is going to annoy me. I'm feeling it. We allude to the question which inevitably comes to the mind of all thinkers who have ventured to seek the truth. The question is, why does the all create universes? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the gist of the inquiry. Yeah, this is going to annoy me, and I'm going to tell you why. Men have striven hard to answer this question, so we're asking, why did the all do this? But still there is no answer worthy of the name. Some have imagined that the all had something to gain by it. But this is absurd, for what could the all gain that it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that the all wished something to love, and others that it created for pleasure or amusement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power, all puerile explanations and ideas belonging to the childish period of thought. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create by reason of its own internal nature, its creative instinct. The idea is in advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea of the all being compelled by anything internal or external. If its internal nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all, and so accordingly that part of the proposition falls. And yet the all does create and manifest, and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in so doing, and it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree it must have what would correspond to an inner nature or creative instinct in man, with correspondingly infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act, and it would not desire to act unless it obtained some satisfaction thereby. And all of these things would belong to an inner nature, and might be postulated as existing according to the law of correspondence. But still, we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from any influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of difficulty, and the difficulty that lies at the root of the problem. We're almost done here. I'm gonna finish it off and then answer the question that they can't answer. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatsoever for the all to act, for a reason implies a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause. There's so many logical problems with this. I want to say something, but I'm just going to keep going for a minute. At which time the principle is set into motion. So you see, the matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable. Just as the way the all merely is, so we are compelled to say, the all acts because it acts. And I hate this because this is like saying, what created God? Well, God is beyond our comprehension, so we can't say what created God because God is unknowable. Old world order thinking. No! But let's keep going. I hate this so much because it's so backwards. The all acts because it acts. At the last, the all is all reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself, and it may be said truthfully that the all is its own reason. Now this is true, the all is its own reason, but they're not explaining it very well, and I will respond to this. The all is its own reason, its own law, and its own act, or still further, that the all, its reason, its act, its law, are one, all being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, the answer is locked up in the inner self of the all, along with its secret of being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to that aspect of the all which may be spoken of the aspect of becoming. Back of what aspect is the aspect of being, in which all laws are lost in law, all principles merge into principle, and the all principle and being are identical, one and the same. Therefore, the metaphorical speculation on this point is futile. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question and also in the absurdity of the ordinary answers of metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest in our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachers have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principle of correspondence to the question with the result of the inner nature conclusion, Still, legends have it that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced student, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and not saying a word, indicating that there was no answer. But then he may have intended to apply the axiom of his philosophy, that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, believing that even his advanced students did not possess the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes possessed the secret, he failed to impart it, and so as far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it, and where the great Hermes hesitated to speak, what mortal may dare to teach? Well, I'm going to teach it in just a second, because we have the answer in Hyperianism. But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem, if indeed there be an answer, the truth remains that while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. The teaching on this point is emphatic, and we may add the concluding words of the quotation, "To him who truly understand this truth hath come great knowledge." Okay. That was a mouthful. I know I went through that quickly. Let's explain it now. All right, let's explain it now. The question is, why did the all create? Why did it generate this dream world? And they said, when they asked Hermes, Hermes did this. And they're saying either that means there is no answer, or that his students couldn't understand the answer. And the answer is that the students couldn't understand the answer, because obviously the writers of the Kybalion can't understand the answer. So if we go up here, they're talking a lot about it, right? And they're attributing a lot of qualities to the all when they say the all is unknowable. Logically speaking, if something is unknowable, you can't say anything about it, because you can't know anything about it. And if you don't know anything about it, you can't say anything about it. However, the good thing is that we can know it. And here they are saying that we can know becoming, the holos, but we can't know being, the source. And they're saying that the aspect of being, this is where all laws are merged into law. All principles merged into principle. And the all, principle, being are identical, one and the same. So they're saying this aspect of reality that the Kybalion can't talk about, doesn't know, doesn't even know if it exists, just says it exists because it exists. It's where all principles merge into one principle, all laws merge into one law. And as the whole point of why we even started looking at the Kybalion was to show that all aspects of the Kybalion, all principles, can be taken back to the source formula, which is the single principle, e to the ix equals cosine x plus I sine x, which looks like this. This is the law of which all other laws are derived and contains all laws within it. And we can absolutely speak about why the all, or the absolute, or the source, generates the holos. And as you can see, it says the all is its own reason, its own law, its own act. Its reason, its act, its law are one. So here's the thing. What is reality? Well, it's mathematical frequency, defined by the source formula. As we have said, this is all of existence is defined by this formula. All reality follows this pattern. So why does this happen? Why does the world generate? For one, there is an extremely complicated answer, which if you check out my book, Ontological Mathematics, The Science of the Future, gets into it in detail. But in a nutshell, it's because it's mathematically embedded within itself, right? Imagine that we have, I'm going to give you a simplistic a simplistic example and then show you how. Okay, so all of reality follows mathematical laws. Reality is mathematical law. This is the source formula. This is the governing law of existence. So if you just imagine, for example, everything follows cycles. So we have, look, this is a cycle here, okay? This is an eternal cycle. Imagine that the circle, imagine that this is the all completing itself. Well, what's the very next mathematical step? It's to keep going. A mathematical formula never stops. An eternal mathematical formula never stops, which means, you know, when it reaches the pinnacle here, right? When it reaches the top, why does it go down? Because it's the next mathematical step. It's embedded into its mathematical pattern. It is law itself. Law itself, mathematical law itself, demands that it continue. And when you reach perfection, the next step is to just keep going. It's literally the next step in the code. The code demands it. Now, if you want to know exactly what that code is, you have to check out Ontological Mathematics, the Science of the Future, just because it's so, you know, it's a complicated thing. I can't explain it all here. This would be fucking 3 days long. But you can grasp the idea that if you have a mathematical pattern that reaches a certain point, like the omega point, mathematical pattern just, it demands that it continues. Now, subjectively, yes, that might be experienced as loneliness or the desire for an other to love or something like this. We don't know 100% what our subjective experience of that point will be. But the mathematical form of it will be that it has reached a point and the mathematical coding demands that the next step happen. So that's that. We're going to go to the next chapter here, to the planes of correspondence, but I want to jump into the comments here to see what the heck you guys are saying. Hi guys, so nice to see you. Sandra Hanan says it repeats. Yes, absolutely. Simon Marley says if all of reality follows mathematical law, then everything you do is determined with the equation. Can we talk about free will? Very astute point, and we will talk about free will. I don't know if I have time to do it right this second, but that's a very astute point. And in a nutshell, Hyperianism follows the compatibilist theory of, if you know theory of free will, we are a compatibilist theory. We'll see if I have time to talk about it more or not, but let me see what else. Kata Lynn says we just keep going. Moonbat says yes, we keep going. Yes, that's absolutely right. Great. Okay. So a lot of people asking about. I'm so glad that you guys are understanding this, because you will be surprised at how many people have a hard time with this concept about understanding that it's simply part of the mathematical equation that makes it keep going. You know, it's like a clock. You know, it's like asking why the all creates, or the absolute or the source creates the holos, generates the holos. It's sort of like asking, well, when it becomes night, why does it become day again? When it's night, it becomes day again because that's the process. It's embedded within the fabric of the nature of existence. It's embedded in law, right? You know, so I'm so glad that you guys are understanding this, because you would be surprised how many people don't. Okay, great, man. I love how many of you guys are enjoying this. Yeah, sunrise and sunset. Man, I can't tell you how happy it makes me to see all these positive comments about these readings. So I saw a comment that says, yes, I love this, so keep reading. So, okay, we will keep reading. And I saw a lot of questions about free will. And by God, I want to answer that question, but let me tell you... Oh, that's so nice, Scott. So Scott says you would be the greatest lecturer to have. That means a lot, Scott. Anyway, the free will thing... Hey, this would take me a long time, and I want to keep reading, and I know some of you guys are like, shut up and just keep reading the book. So, I'm going to keep reading. If we have time, or if we get a super chat that convinces me to answer the question about free will, I will. But for now, let's keep plugging along. Lenny Jones, thank you for helping us wake up the world. Lenny asked, does gematria play into ontological mathematics? No, it actually does not. And we get that a lot. Does gematria, numerology, things like this does not play into ontological mathematics. So, gematria, numerology, these are things like fortune-telling stuff that people use. And no, so just for those who are new, what ontological mathematics is like what physics is for the material world, ontological mathematics is for the mental world. So it doesn't have to do with numerology or gematria or fortune-telling or anything like that. What physics is to the physical world, ontological mathematics is to the mental world, meaning we can understand the rules, laws, and patterns of the domain of mind, which precedes the physical world. Just like physics tries to understand the physical world. But we can do so even better because mind is primary. So it is a very rationalist, idealist, rigorous, philosophical, strict, precise system. On par with physics, but actually above physics, goes beyond what physics and answers the questions that physics cannot. So great question. Okay. So let us continue. Planes of correspondence. Whoa, sorry about that. I probably just slid across your screen there. Where did the book go? Where did the book go? Oh, hello, book. Planes of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The Kybalion. The great second Hermetic principle embodies the truth that there is a harmony, agreement, and correspondence between the several planes of manifestation, life, and being. This truth is a truth because all that is included in the universe emanates from the same source, and the same laws, principles, and characteristics apply to each unit or combination of units of activity as each manifests its own phenomenon upon its own plane. So this is basically saying the whole as above, so below thing basically means, remember the source and the holos. The source is the mental domain, the holos is the physical domain. The holos is a manifestation of the source. And again, think of a hologram. You can have the light source, think of a laser beam shining, hitting a holographic plate, and then the hologram. So the hologram, everything, imagine the universe as the hologram. Everything in reality, everything in that universe shares the same source. And because it all shares the same source, means it all, even though it manifests in many, many different ways, it all shares a commonality. That source is the commonality between it. So all things share a commonality because it shares the same source. You can think of the holos as the below and the source as the above. Even though there is no above or below, right? It's thinking into this very archaic mindset of sort of heaven and the earth, right? The source, like heaven, and the earth, like, below. This is why, picture thinking is not very good. We want to be much more precise than this because you can run into a lot of problems. For the purpose of convenience of thought and study, the Hermetic philosophy considers that the universe may be divided into three great classes of phenomena, known as the three great planes. 1, the great physical plane, 2, the great mental plane, 3, the great spiritual plane. Now, in Hyperianism and ontological mathematics, we just have the mental plane and the physical plane. We equate the mental and the spiritual as the same. Mind and spirit. Remember the German word Geist? The German word Geist means mind and spirit at the same time. So in Hyperianism, right, we have the source and the holos, mind and matter, physical and mental. They have 3, and it's not that they're adding an extra one. It's just they're making like subdivisions. And this is going to start to annoy me, of course, because they're not very precise about all this. But let's continue. These divisions are more or less artificial or arbitrary. You see? Yeah, and that's why it annoys me, because their divisions are artificial and arbitrary. And that's the thing in ontological mathematics. We don't want to be artificial and arbitrary. We want to be precise and necessary. Okay? Precise and necessary, not artificial and arbitrary. For the truth is that all of these 3 divisions are but ascending degrees of the great scale of life, the lowest point of which is undifferentiated matter, and the highest point that of spirit. And moreover, the different planes shade into each other, so that no hard and fast division may be made between the higher phenomena of the physical and the lower of the mental, or between the higher of the mental and the lower of the physical. If any of this starts to confuse you guys, please don't let it, because the Kybalion will start to stray from Hyperianism here in some very weird ways. So in short, the great planes may be regarded as 3 great groups of degrees of life manifestation. While the purposes of this little book do not allow us to enter into an extended discussion of or explanation of the subject of these different planes, still we think it well to give a general description of the same at this point. At the beginning, we may as well consider the question so often asked by the neophyte. Remember, neophyte means like beginner, who desires to be informed regarding the meaning of the word plane, which term has been very freely used and very poorly explained in many recent works upon the subject of occultism. The general question is generally about as follows. Is a plane a place having dimensions, or is it merely a condition or state? We answer, no, not a place, nor ordinary dimension of space, and yet more than a state or condition. It may be considered as a state or condition, and yet the state or condition is a degree of dimension in a scale subject to measurement. Somewhat paradoxical, is it not? But let us examine the matter. A dimension, you know, is a measurement in a straight line relating to measure. The ordinary dimensions of space are length, breadth, and height, or perhaps length, breadth, height, thickness, or circumference. But there is another dimension of creative things, or measure, in a straight line, known to occultists and to scientists as well, although the latter have not yet applied the term dimension to it, and this new dimension, which by the way is the much speculated about 4th dimension, is the standard used in determining the degrees or planes. Let's see, okay. No, guys. No. Bad 3 initiates. Bad Kybalion. I do not like this. Okay, let me explain this, but let me get through this highlighted part, and then I'll... The 4th dimension may be called the dimension of vibration. The 4th dimension may be called the dimension of vibration. It is a fact well known to modern science, as well as to the Hermetists, who have embodied the truth in their 3rd Hermetic principle, that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest. From the highest manifestation to the lower, everything and all things vibrate. I mean, this part is true. Not only do they vibrate at different rates of motion. Remember, guys, this is just frequency. We know from quantum mechanics that all things are wave-like. Not only do they vibrate at different rates of motion, but as in different directions and in a different manner. The degrees of the rate of vibrations constitute the degrees of measurement on the scale of vibrations. In other words, the degrees of the fourth dimension. And these degrees, from what occultists call planes, the higher the degree or of rate of vibration, the higher the plane, and the higher the manifestation of life occupying that plane. So that while a plane is not a place, nor yet a state or condition, yet it possesses qualities common to both. We shall have more to say regarding the subject of the scale of vibrations in our next lessons, in which we shall consider the Hermetic principle of vibration. So basically, they're saying everything vibrates, which is true. Vibration just means frequency. So basically, everything has a frequency aspect to it. This is 100% true. Everything has a frequency aspect to it. They're calling this the fourth dimension. Please get that out of your head. Take it, crumple it up, and throw it away. That is not the fourth dimension, and if you think that it is, you're going to get very, very confused. This is why we always must have reason and logic above everything. Yes, everything has a frequency. And yes, everything does. And everything vibrates at a different rate. Yes. But it's not the fourth dimension. Okay? The domain of pure frequency. Okay? So there is a type of mathematics called Fourier mathematics. And Fourier mathematics is what mediates the difference between mind and matter. So, Fourier mathematics transforms mind, frequency information, into space-time information. Okay? So if you have a bunch of frequencies, you can mathematically transform that frequency information into space-time information. And we have shown this diagram before. I'll bring it up again in case you don't recall it. So here we have, here, on this side, see all these waves, all these blue waves? This is frequency. See this red wave? You can think of the red wave as a space-time wave. That's what you can think of it as. So you can see, so look, here we have look, I'm gonna be very loose about this, but to get it the best way possible. Here you have a space-time wave. If we want to, we can take that space-time wave and break it down, pull it apart, and look at the frequencies that it's made up of. And then look, bam, you can see it right there. So everything is waves. If we take a space-time wave, we can break it down and look at the frequencies it's composed of. Think of it, if you want a real simplistic example, imagine that the world was made out of Legos. And we go, okay, we know that everything is made out of Legos. If we take a Lego object, we can break it down and see what kind of individual Legos make that Lego object up, right? So if we have a Lego car, we can break that Lego car down into the individual Lego pieces that make it up, right? So does that make sense? So in a very simplistic way, we have a space-time wave, and we can break that down to see what frequencies make up that space-time wave. Now, frequencies, pure frequencies are mind. Why are pure frequencies mind? Pure frequencies are mind because if you add up the energy across the entirety of a frequency pattern, an entirety of a waveform, of a sinusoid, what is the result? It's zero. So if we take a wave and we integrate it. We take that frequency and integrate it. It's equal to 0. And this is how we define mind. So individual frequencies are mind. They add up to 0. So the frequency domain is the 0th dimension, okay? The domain of frequency is the 0th dimension. Its net energy, its total energy is 0. So it's not the 4th dimension. Please destroy that from your mind. That's a terrible way to think of it. It is precisely, mathematically, the 0th dimension. The dimension of frequency, of mind, which we use to give rise to dimensionality. The domain of frequency is 0. The 0th dimension. So delete this 4th dimension stuff. Thank you so much, Scullywag, for helping us wake up the world. Scullywag says, "Isn't our frequency between 62 to 72?" No, it No. That particular frequency weight. You know what? Let me comment on that at a certain point. That's actually that's kind of like asking if ontological mathematics is related to gematria. It's combining two different things. So good question. And that's actually something that I need to address at one point. I will, that's just going to take us really off topic. So what we are talking about here is that this existence that we exist in is composed of frequencies oscillating at many different waves, oscillating at many different frequencies. You'll hear people saying like, "Oh yeah, that means that we should only listen to music at a certain frequency range because this frequency range vibrates on the frequency of hate and this one vibrates on the frequency of love. So we should listen to this range of frequencies." That's not what we're talking about. That's some new age stuff that actually has no basis in existence. If some music makes you feel love, that's awesome. And that's great, but it doesn't mean that like there's a certain frequency of music that's like, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that's like, oh yeah, if you listen to this certain range of frequencies, it's because the government's trying to put you in a state of mind control or hatred. And no. That's not accurate. But let me do a video on that. Great question though, by the way. Okay, so the Kybalion is saying that the vibration is in the 4th dimension. No. Remember, the frequency is mind and is the 0th dimension. And I'm out of water. But haha, I bring 2 cups of water now. And I will have to take a pee break quite soon. I got some person bitching and complaining that I drink water. They were like, "Stop drinking water while you read these books. It sounds atrocious." And I'm like, motherfucker, you try reading for hours without drinking water. You will lose your voice. So, hydration, people. Okay. You will kindly remember, however, that the 3 great planes are not actual divisions of the phenomena of the universe, but merely arbitrary terms used by the Hermetists in order to aid in the thought and study of the various degrees and forms of universal activity in life. The atom of matter, the unit of force, the mind of man, and the being of the archangel, are all but degrees in one scale, and all fundamentally the same, the difference between solely a matter of degree and rate of vibration. All are creations of the all and have their existence solely within the infinite mind of the all. So it seems to me that what the Kybalion is trying to do is that they're trying to talk about stages of mental evolution. and stages of evolution and mental evolution. But again, the Kybalion unfortunately doesn't place logic and reason above all, so you can see that they kind of don't really 100% know how to do it, so they're trying to use intuition, and they're even saying that they're not being very accurate about it. And so the words that they're going to use are very confusing. But we're going to try and dive into this and dissect it using logic and reason. But what it seems to me is that what they're about to discuss is stages of evolution and mental evolution, consciousness, and things like this. Yeah, okay. Okay, so keep in mind that as we plow through this is what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to talk about evolution, but they're going to be doing it in a very intuitive and very arbitrary way. So let's try and we're going to try and apply some correct structure to this and get and dive into it. But you know what? Before we do, I am going to take a piss. Yes, indeed. So as I do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a piss, and then when I come back, I'll jump into the comments for a moment, and then we'll dive into this, because I have a feeling this is going to be interesting. So yeah, enjoy the light show while I relieve myself. I have returned. I hope you all can't hear me take a piss and like flush the toilet while I'm off screen. I don't know if you know what, maybe you can. I don't know if you can. Well, here, let me jump to the comments. I'm sure y'all will love to tell me. Would love to tell me if you can. Hello, everybody. The Tortured Order. Good to see you, Tortured Order. Says you need to moisten that larynx. Yes, I do. Oh, good. Good. Apparently you cannot hear my excretions. That makes me happy. Hey, why is the light still doing that? Good. That's a good thing. Yes, I do feel... Darcy says well, Darcy donated $20. Thanks. Thank you, Darcy. But you said we heard? You did not. You are lying. You are a liar. Cindy Fletcher said you were trying. You pervert. Cindy, how dare you try to listen? Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the live, Tracy. You definitely should. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're watching on Facebook, please go subscribe on YouTube. This is where I, talk to people on comments. We're trying to reach 100,000 subscribers. If you're on Facebook, the link is in, at the bottom of the comments. Go click it and go, I just even forget to look at the YouTube comments. Are you guys? Yeah. See, I see so many comments on YouTube right now, or Facebook. Get your asses over to YouTube so I can talk to you guys. And go subscribe, alright? Yeah, go do that, all right? Do it. Help us reach 100,000. Come on, be a part of the movement. Help us reach it. Help us spread this information. We want 100,000 subs. So let us get there. Okay, wait, but now let me go back. You guys. Okay. I have so many windows open. There you guys are. Hello. Okay, hello. So someone asked, okay, good question. Oh, someone's birthday on Friday. Well, I hope you have a happy early birthday. So I saw someone ask the question, what is the difference between densities and dimensions? Okay, so densities is so densities doesn't play a part in Hyperianism. Densities is a New Age concept, but in that framework, densities relates to levels of consciousness. So the higher you go up in density, the higher you go up in levels of consciousness. It's not dealing with dimensions. What is a dimension? A dimension is like the holos is dimensionality. When you have a dream, it's dimensionality. It's height, length, width. It's the coordinates used to describe, like we know that the holos is 3 complex dimensions. I don't want to get... But anyway, so in Hyperianism, we don't talk about densities, but I know what you're talking about. That's a New Age concept. So in that New Age mystical framework, densities would relate to levels of consciousness. But if you are Hyperion, don't get confused because densities don't play a part in Hyperianism. We just talk about levels of consciousness. Okay. Kata Lynn says, I'm so glad I didn't get trapped in the New Age world along my journey. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear many people being able to be liberated from that. That means a lot. Oh yeah, Sandra Hanan says, spank the like button. You should spank that like button. All right, so great to see you guys here. Oh, FAQ Slan Studio says, just moved from Facebook to YouTube. I'm Aaron Peters on Facebook. Thank you, Aaron Peters and FAQ. See you, Facebook people. Let Aaron Peters be your example. Get your cyber asses over to YouTube. Follow the sample of Aaron. What would Aaron do? You Facebookers need what would Aaron do bracelets because Aaron would subscribe to my YouTube. So if you're not, go to YouTube right now and subscribe. What are you doing? Help us wake up the world. Let's go. Let's do this. Go subscribe. Now we have what would Aaron do? That's going to be a thing now, isn't it? Okay. Paula came over from Facebook, and Azeri came over from Facebook. Excellent. Aaron is laughing. Yes, Aaron, you are now a leader in a new religion called the Aaron Peters religion. We're all gonna wear I don't know, little subscribe buttons or little subscribe necklaces and what would Aaron do bracelets. Be like Aaron. Subscribe to my channel. Okay. Did you guys spank that like button, by the way? Some of you spanked that like button. Now, I don't want to say spank the like button. I just feel kind of gross now saying that. I don't know if I want to. Just smash it. Just smash. You don't have to spank it. You can do whatever you want to it, really. If you want to spank it, that's fine. I'm not going to spank it. I'm just going to smash it. Oh, someone said finger the like button. Now you're just taking things too far. You're taking it too far now. All right. We got to get back to I love hanging out with you guys, but we got to get back to reading, okay? We got to get back to reading. By the way, hey, if you're watching this when the pre-recorded, you know, because I'm going to post this and it's going to be it's going to be recorded. So if you're watching the recorded version of this, the replay, do you want me to take these parts out, or do you like these parts where I go into chat and talk to people and stuff? Let me know in the comments. Say, yeah, we like it, it's great, or no, just read the book. Tell me. Okay, anyway, yeah, all right, you guys are getting perverted down here. So we are going to keep reading, y'all. Oh hey, we're well, you guys were perverted, but it worked. Our likes are over 200 now. So apparently you guys respond to sexual explicit things. Apparently that's how I can get you all to like the like button. Maybe that's how I can get Facebook people to go to YouTube too. I don't know. How can we make that sexual? How can we make subscribe to my asshole? Oh no, that's not gonna work. No, forget that. Subscribe to me so hard. I don't know. Just go. Just. Why is it so difficult? Just go subscribe. Why do you make me demean myself? Just grab my. Luke says, grab my bell. Grab my bell, turn on notifications, hit the bell. There's a bell button for those of you who don't know. So yes, for those of you who don't know, yes, please grab my bell, hit the bell, turn on notifications. He's blushing. I am blushing, aren't I? This is not rational, Sardonic says. Okay, all right. We're trying to be enlightened here, you guys. We're reading the Kybalion, and you have just thrown us into the grossest form of matter, the lowest plane of existence. We are emanating in Malkuth. We are at, you know, the lowest density. Our vibratory patterns are just so slow. So come on. And Cindy said, enlighten up. Hilarious. Shelley Webster says, I can't get super chat to work. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'd help you if we could. Thank you guys for all the donators, by the way. Look at the top donator, Blue Raven, with that 150. My God. Blue Raven, you're awesome. Okay. So let us... What were we talking about? See what happens when I use the restroom? Okay. What were we talking about? Okay, alright. Whew. We are talking about, okay, so they're about to talk about like physical evolution, mental evolution, but they're going to do it in a very intuitive way. They even said it's arbitrary. So we're going to try and break it down and make some sense out of this. The great physical plane and its 7 minor planes, it doesn't actually have 7 minor planes, is that division of the phenomena of the universe which includes all that relates to physics or material things, forces and manifestations. It includes all forms of that which we call matter and all forms of that which we call energy or force. So they're talking about the holos, the physical domain. But you must remember that the Hermetic philosophy does not recognize matter as a thing in itself or as having a separate existence even in the mind of the all. This is true. The holos does not have a separate existence. It's a manifestation of mind. It's an internal, holographic mental projection, a shared dream. The teachings are that matter is but a form of energy. True. That is, energy at a low rate of vibration of a certain kind. And accordingly, the Hermetists classify matter under the head of energy and give it 3 of the 7 minor planes of the great physical plane. These 7 minor physical planes are as follows. 1, the plane of matter A. 2, the plane of matter B. The plane of matter C. The plane of ethereal substance. The plane of energy A, B, and C. Now, again, don't let this confuse you. This is all very arbitrary, and we're gonna break it down and put it in a way that can be understood. The plane of matter A comprises the forms of matter in its forms of solids, liquids, and gases, as generally recognized by the textbooks on physics. The plane of matter B comprises the certain higher and more subtle forms of matter, of the existence of which modern science is but now recognizing. The phenomena of radiant matter and its phases of radium belonging to the lower subdivision of this minor plane. The plane of matter C comprises forms of the most subtle and tenuous matter, the existence of which is not suspected by ordinary scientists. The plane of ethereal substance, as comprises that which science speaks of as the ether, as substance of extreme tenuity and elasticity, pervading all the universal space and acting as a medium that, for which the transmission of energy, such as light, heat, electricity, etc., this ethereal substance forms a connecting link between matter, so-called energy, and energy, and partakes of the nature of each. The Hermetic teaching, however, instructs that this plane has 7 subdivisions, as have all the minor planes, and that, in fact, there are all 7 ethers instead of but 1. Okay, so what are they talking about here? They're just basically saying that, hey, there's different types of matter. Some of them, the forms of solids and liquids. Then we're talking things that are more getting into the idea of quantum mechanics and stuff like this. All their divisions here are extremely arbitrary, so don't let that confuse you. Don't let that, they're just saying there's different types of matter that manifest itself in different ways according to frequency and vibratory rates. That's all they're saying, and that's fine. Then they're talking about the ether. Now here's the thing. The ether is something that science once proposed existed, okay? Science once proposed that the ether is a substance that pervades everything. And the ether is the medium through which light travels, okay? So look at it this way. Sound requires air to propagate. A sound wave cannot travel without air. Air is the medium through which a sound wave propagates. So science once proposed that the ether is that which light propagates through. However, the position of modern science today is different, right? So they're talking about an old theory. The current theory of science is that the ether does not exist, there is no ether, and that light travels through nothing, that it does not require a medium to travel through. Now, in Hyperianism, it's slightly different. Ontological mathematics shows that the ether does exist, but the ether is light/mind. I haven't explained this a lot yet, but mind and light are actually the same thing. And if that sounds a little confusing, I haven't explained this yet. And the reason why I haven't is because it's kind of complex. And so it requires its own video. And in my book, it's explained very thoroughly. But all you need to know for now is that mind and light are actually the same thing. And I know that might sound a little confusing. But in Hyperianism, mind is the ether, and mind is light, and light literally is its own, light is the medium. So this is why basically science goes, hey, we can't detect the ether, so light, it turns out, doesn't need anything to move through. The position of Hyperianism is similar but very different. Hyperianism is, yes, there is an ether, and that is light, and light is the medium itself. So do you see the difference? Science goes, hey, we can't detect the medium through which light moves through, so there is no medium. Light doesn't need anything to move through. Whereas Hyperianism is, light is the medium. And that's why it seems like light doesn't need anything to move through, because light is the medium itself. Once again, I want to draw your attention to the hologram. You have the source, which is light. Light goes, fractures, and forms the hologram. From the hologram's perspective, things are moving through, right? Things are, from the hologram's perspective, everything is moving, right? You could have a little hologram train, a little hologram airplane, but that is all formed from light. And so the things that are moving and that what it's moving through is the same. It's all light, right? It's all light. But from the hologram's perspective, which is, physics goes, hey, it seems like light doesn't move through anything, so there must not be a thing to move through. And then Hyperianism goes, no, look, guys, it's all light. Light is the medium. Light is the thing that's quote-unquote moving and the thing that it's moving through. So hopefully that elucidates that. What the Kybalion is talking about is they're talking about an archaic scientific idea that doesn't hold. So don't let that confuse you. Not only is the Kybalion wrong here, but it's outdated. So it's saying that ethereal substance forms a connecting link between matter and energy. So if you want to try and connect the dots, just think of the ether as being light/mind. Remember, always go back to our metaphor of the hologram. Okay? So the ethereal substance, light/mind, forms a connecting link between matter and energy. Really it's the connecting link between mind and matter, because matter, the hologram, is a manifestation of mind. Blah, blah, blah. Next, above the plane of ethereal substance, comes the plane of energy, which comprises the ordinary forms of energy known to science. Its 7 subplanes being respectively heat, light, magnetism, electricity, attraction, gravitation, cohesion, chemical affinity. The plane of energy B comprises 7 subplanes of higher forms of energy, as yet not discovered by science, but which have been called nature's finer forces, and which are called into operation in manifestations of certain forms of mental phenomena, and by which phenomena becomes possible. The plane of energy comprises 7 subplanes of energy, so highly organized that it bears many of the characteristics of life, but which is not recognized by the minds of men on the ordinary plane of development, being available for the use of beings of the spiritual plane alone. Such energy is unthinkable to ordinary man, and yet may be considered almost as divine power. The beings employing the same are as gods compared to even the highest human types known to us. Okay, so that whole thing is basically them trying to describe physics, but like in a very outdated and intuitive way. So just don't let any of that confuse you. Just know that we need to stay up to date and stay guided by logic and reason. So it's not that they're really wrong, so to say. They're just explaining it using outdated words and with arbitrary distinctions. So they're not wrong. They're just explaining it very badly. Kind of like how they said vibration was the 4th dimension. It's like, no, yes, there is a dimension of frequency, yes, but it's not the 4th. They're being imprecise. It's the 0th. Remember that, guys, okay? The domain of frequency is the 0th dimension. Okay. The great mental plane comprises those forms of living things known to us in ordinary life, as well as certain other forms not so well known except to the occultist. The classification of the 7 minor mental planes is more or less satisfactory and arbitrary, unless accompanied by elaborate explanations which are foreign to the purpose of this particular work. But we may as well mention them. So they're even saying, like, okay, They're basically even saying like, hey, this is kind of arbitrary and not quite right, but we might as well talk about it. We might as well. Okay. They are as follows: the plane of mineral mind, the plane of elemental mind, the plane of plant mind, the plane of elemental mind, the plane of animal mind, the plane of elemental mind, the plane of human mind. So I think we will be able to tease out some useful information here, but as we correct some mistakes here. The plane of mineral mind comprises the states or conditions of the units or entities or groups and combinations of the same which animate the forms known to us as minerals, chemicals, etc. These entities... Okay. We are going to be able to tease out some very interesting information here. Okay. So these entities must not be confounded with the molecules, atoms, and corpuscles themselves. The latter being merely the material bodies or forms of these entities, just as man's body is but his material form and not himself. These entities may be called souls in one sense, and are living beings of a low degree of development, life, and mind, just a little more than the units of living energy which comprise the higher subdivisions of the highest physical plane. The average mind does not generally attribute the possession of mind, soul, or life to the mineral kingdom, but all occultists recognize the existence of the same, and modern science is rapidly moving forward to the point of view of the Hermetic in this respect. The molecules, atoms, and corpuscles have their loves and hates, likes and dislikes, attractions and repulsions, affinities and non-affinities. And some of the more daring of modern scientific minds have expressed the opinion that the desire and will, emotions and feelings of the atoms differ only in degree from those of men. We have no time or space to argue this matter here. All occultists know it to be a fact, okay, and others are referred to some of the more recent scientific works for our outside corroboration. There are the usual 7 subdivisions in this plane. Okay, let me break down what they're basically saying here. So, what all these divisions they're talking about, they are talking about different levels of consciousness or different levels of mind. So they're basically saying, don't think that we're talking about the physical body, but we're talking about the mental aspect. And so what they're saying is that the minerals, atoms, rocks, etc., all these basic things, they're saying like, look, it has their own attraction and repulsion. So like the electron, probably has the same desire and will and emotions and feelings of like a human, just on a lesser degree. So let me try and... So here is where we need to be very careful. So if we look at all of existence is mind. So let's take a rock, for example. Is a rock a manifestation of life and mind? Yes, it is. Does a rock have a subjectivity? Does a rock feel happy, sad? No. Do you? Yes. So what's the difference? The difference is that you have a monad, a monadic mind, associated with your body. A rock does not. There is no monad associated with a rock. There is a monad associated with you. A monad is a subjectivity, okay? A monad is a subjectivity. So a rock does not have a monad associated with it. And they're kind of saying like as if it did. No. So the Kybalion is very wrong here. But however, a rock is composed of mind. So I want you to think there is a big difference between a monadic mind and the thought patterns, right? So if a rock is composed of the energy contents of monads, right? So a rock is composed of the energy contents of monads, but it doesn't have a monad linked to it. So do you see that very subtle difference? So an electron doesn't have its own mind and thoughts and feelings. Rather, an electron is a combination of thoughts of a mind. If you close your eyes right now and imagine an apple, that apple that you just imagined in your mind is composed of your thoughts. But that apple doesn't have a monad associated with it. That apple doesn't have its own feelings and likes and dislikes, right? So this glass is composed of the collective thoughts of all of us, right? This thought is composed of the collective thoughts of all of us. It is a mental creation. It is a mental manifestation. But there is no monad associated with this cup. This cup isn't like, oh man, I'm really wet right now and I'm loving that. No. So electrons, etc., are thoughts, but they don't have a monad associated with that. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, a very subtle point, but I love that every time I jump into the comments, it seems like you guys are really getting it. So again, the Kybalion is incorrect here. The Kybalion is basically saying, and they're going like, all occultists know this to be a fact. Well, no, you're wrong. Everything is thought, but that doesn't mean that everything has an internal subjectivity to the point of being a monadic mind, okay? This cup doesn't have a monad associated with it. It doesn't have a soul, so to speak. If it did, it would find that infinitely pleasurable, I'm sure. Okay. The plane of elemental mind. So again, they're talking about different degrees of consciousness, and so far they have been incorrect in trying to say that like rock. A rock is like a very low form of consciousness. A rock is a very low form of thought. It's a very low form of thought. It's not a low form of consciousness. Only a mind, a monadic mind, can have degrees of consciousness. A rock is the energy contents of minds. It is the unconscious of our collective mind. Matter is the unconscious of our collective minds, not its own type of consciousness. Subtle difference, but extremely important. The plane of plant mind, in its 7 subdivisions, comprise the state or conditions of the entities comprising the kingdom of the plant world. The vital and mental phenomena of which is fairly well understood by the average intelligent person. Many new and interesting scientific workings regarding the mind and life in plants have been published during the last decades. Plants have life, mind, and souls, as well as have the plants, as well as have the animals, man, and Superman. So this is now true. Plants do have monads associated with them. If you have a tree, yes, there is a monad associated and linked to that tree. That's because the thought pattern has, see, a rock is an inhospitable avatar. A rock is not complex enough. It's not cellularly complex enough, or not cellularly, but atomically, right? I need to be careful with my words, but it's not molecularly complex enough to be able to host a monadic link. However, a plant is. And apologies, I got the distinction of cellular and molecularly incorrect there, but yeah, you know what I mean. Plant life, however, is. So a plant life is complex enough. You can see there is a great leap in complexity from a rock to a growing, thriving, blooming, ingesting tree, a plant, a rose, what have you. So there is the avatar, a plant avatar, and a monad associated with that plant avatar that forms a link to it. So now the Kybalion is getting there in forms of levels of mind. A plant is not self-aware. It doesn't have consciousness, so to speak. It doesn't have ego consciousness. A plant is not like, oh, I know that I'm a plant. It's not aware of itself. But there is a monad associated with it. The plane of elemental mind B and its 7 subdivisions comprises the states and conditions of a higher form of elemental or unseen entities playing their part in the general work of the universe, the mind and life of which form a plant of the scale between the plane of plant mind and the plane of animal mind, the entities partaking of the nature of both. This sounds to me a bit like that they are talking about very basic archetypes that may direct the life of plants. That's what it sounds to me like. They are speaking of archetypal mental patterns. The plane of animal mind in its 7 subdivisions comprise the state and conditions of entities, beings, or souls animating the animal life forms. Yeah, see, the conditions of entities, beings, or souls animating the animal life form. So they're talking about the state of monads that animate the animal avatar. And they're saying it's not necessary to go into details here, but we're familiar with it. There's animal avatars, and they have a monad associated with them. Though they don't, again, one of the big deficits, or one of the big problems with the Kybalion is they don't define monads properly enough. Anyway, the plane of elemental mind C comprises those entities or beings, invisible as are all such elemental forms, which partake of the nature of both animal and human life in a degree and in certain combinations. The highest forms are semi-human and intelligence. Again, this to me seems like that they are possibly talking about archetypal forms of existence. Possibly. Again, the Kybalion is being very imprecise here, so we're trying to wade through their imprecision. So here is now when we get to what is of interest to us. The plane of human mind, because we're most familiar with this. So now we're talking about Shelley Webster, thank you for helping us wake up the world. Shelley says, my question, back to vibrations, does it also apply to crystals and stones? Yes, there are. Yeah, so different crystals and stones have a different molecular structure, which means that they do have different it's a different frequency structure, because everything is composed of frequency, and everything does. It's not like only stones and crystals, but yes, it does apply to stones and crystals. Now, does this mean it's going to have a certain effect on you? No, it doesn't mean that you can get like a crystal that has a certain structure that when you wear it, it means it's going to make you feel happier. It does, you can't wear a crystal that will raise your vibrations or something like that. However, you can use neuro-linguistic programming to form a psychological link. Like, look, if you like, crystals are cool and they have extremely intricate patterns. So if you like crystals, that's great, and you can form links with them psychologically, neuro-linguistic programming. Check out the video I did on what the fuck are chakras, where we kind of break down ideas like this and show where it goes wrong. But basically, you can form certain mental links. So let's say you associate will with the color orange? Well, you could go get an orange crystal and wear it around your neck and use that as a mental psychological reminder to focus your will on accomplishing your goal. So yeah, if you wear that orange crystal, you might accomplish your goal better and faster because you've made a mental link psychologically, an association with will to the color orange that hangs around your neck. It reminds you to focus and accomplish your goal. So it's all it's powerful psychology, but it does not mean that the particular structure actually will raise your frequency to, it's not like magic, it's not like, woo, now I have like this superpower because of this crystal. It's not like that. It can be very powerful and symbolic, and symbols are very powerful. Psychology is super powerful. Great question, Shelley. Thank you. But okay, so now we're at a very, very interesting part, because we are going to be talking about the avatars of humans and the minds associated with them. And this is important to us because with plants and animals, it's like, okay, we get it. We can understand them easily because they're lower than us in a certain sense. So we get it. But now let's take a look at this. The plane of human mind in its 7 subdivisions. So basically, they're saying each one of these divisions can be, there are 7 different levels of just of human evolution mentally. They're saying, and again, this is arbitrary, so there aren't actually 7. They're just using it as an example. It's like an octave on a piano, right? You have an octave and you have the different keys. Well, where you separate the different frequencies are really arbitrary. We can, you have a piano with a certain number of keys. We could easily imagine a piano, instead of having an octave, having just 2 keys. It'd be a really basic piano. Or it could have, 1,000 keys. Or it could have 72 keys. The divisions and distinctions are arbitrary. But they are saying 7 to try and kind of help us get an idea. So the plane of human mind, in its 7 subdivisions, comprises those manifestations of life and mentality which are common to man in his various grades, degrees, and divisions. In this connection, we wish to point out the fact that the average man of today occupies but the 4th subdivision of the plane of human mind. So they're saying the average intelligent human is at level 4, basically. If we're saying, if they're saying there are 7 levels to the human stage, they're saying the average human's at level 4. And only the most intelligent have crossed the borders of the 5th subdivision. It has taken the race millions of years to reach this stage, and will take many more years for the race to move on to the 6th and 7th subdivisions and beyond. But remember that there have been races before us which have passed through the degrees and then on to higher planes. Our own race is the 5th, with stragglers from the 4th, which have set foot upon the path. And there are a few advanced souls of our own race who have outstripped the masses and who have passed on to the 6th and 7th subdivision, and some few being still further on. The man of the 6th subdivision will be the Superman. He of the 7th will be of the Overman. So now, in terms of Hyperianism, if we're going to use this framework, right, they're basically saying, hey, the average human is at 4. But there are those rare souls that exist. There are at level 5. There are at level 6. There are at level 7. So if you imagine like the 4th level being just like the average person you find on the street. Hey, how you doing? And imagine like a level 2 being like a Trump supporter, right? So that's, just not very high on the intelligence scale there. So here we have. So what is the goal of Hyperianism? Well, the goal of Hyperianism is to. Hyperians are going higher. We are going to, the 5th, 6th, and 7th levels. And we're trying to take humanity with us. We want to raise humanity from the fourth level into the next level. And we and Hyperians, right? If you are Hyperion, you already are past the fourth level. You're entering into the fifth level. And there are some Hyperions that have reached the sixth level and the seventh level. And so our goal is to get humanity as a whole from the fourth level to the fifth level, and then even further still. Remember, these 7 levels, we're using the framework of the Kybalion. In Hyperianism, we don't talk about these 7 levels, but I'm just using what they're basically talking about here, is that there are different levels of mental evolution, and we want to bring people to the higher levels, and that's what we're doing as Hyperions. We're literally the next stage of human evolution. We want to, in these levels, some Hyperions are at the 5th, some are at the 6th, some are at the 7th. Okay, so let's continue here with our reading. But guess what? I have to piss again, because I am nearly gone with my second cup of water. So I have to piss again. I'm gonna go pee. I really hope that you don't hear me flush. I don't give whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Take enjoyment from that, you filthy, perverted individuals. So I'm gonna go pee, and then I'm going to jump into the comments, and then we're going to continue our reading. We're almost done with this chapter here. We're getting into interesting ideas because we're going to talk about evolving to higher and higher levels of consciousness. While I'm gone, guess what you should do? You guys who are on Facebook, play the awesome game of I love going to YouTube and subscribing to Morgue's channel. That's fun. Go do that while I go pee. Go do that. And for those of you who are on Facebook, you can play the fun game of smashing the like button. So be right back. I'm going to jump into the comments when I come back. All right, I have returned. Can you imagine? Remember that guy who told me, don't drink water, it's so annoying when you live stream. Can you imagine if he was like, don't go pee. Don't go pee when you live stream. It's so annoying. My God. I have an avatar. What am I supposed to do? Hook up a catheter or just piss myself? Okay. Hi guys. How are you? Let me go into the comments, and then we're going to continue this because we're about to get into, continuing this idea of mental evolution. But let me, Hello everyone. Angela says, your stream, do what you want. I will do what I want. Once we are able to release from the limit of human understanding and explanation. That was your Trump voice? What? You said I sounded like Trump? Yeah, You guys saying that you heard the flush? I know you're fucking liars. You know how I know you're fucking liars? Because I didn't flush it. I didn't flush it. I don't care if you think that's gross. I wanted to see who's gonna lie and say they said they heard the flush. So I know you're yeah. I think you're so clever. Ha ha. Ha ha. Gotcha. That's no, I didn't flush. No, didn't do it. See, big brain. That's some 7th level human mental evolution intelligence that took to concoct that strategy. Yes, I did wash my hands. Yes, that is true. Does water have a monad? No, water does not. That was my 36D chess game. Yes. Okay, so I think we're gonna get back to discussing this here. I just enjoy hanging out in the comments with you guys. Let me see what are our likes at. We are at 231 likes. That's not too bad. That's not bad at all, you guys. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already. And once again, subscribe. If you're from YouTube or Facebook, tell me in the YouTube comments that you came over, so you can be a good example to those other awful Facebookers who just won't come over here. How many people are on? Jesus, there's a lot of you on Facebook. There's 150 of you on Facebook. Y'all? Okay, you guys on I see you guys on Facebook, and you're asking questions. The audacity. I told you, go over to YouTube and I'll answer your questions. Okay. Hold on here. I have to... Okay. Hello again. Scott says waiting for you to show up on MySpace. My God. You know, I used to have of course I used to have a MySpace. I was pretty damn popular on MySpace. I think I had like 80,000, what was it, friends? Is that what they had? It wasn't likes on Facebook, on MySpace. I think it was friends. I had 80,000. I think it was like 80,000. Or was it 40,000? I can't remember. That was so long ago. But it was a lot. It was, you know, pretty good for MySpace. I wasn't 12 when I was on MySpace. Oh, was I 12 when I was on MySpace? How old was I on MySpace? Oh my God, how old was I when I got on MySpace? I wasn't 12. I must have been like 14. But I had a MySpace for a while. I think I had a MySpace till I was... I mean, it's probably... Does MySpace still exist? I never deleted it, so by God, you guys can go find it probably. Oh no, don't do it. What have I done? What have I done? If that's still up there, you guys are definitely going to find it now. Shit. If MySpace is still a thing, my profile still exists. But I think I had it till I was... Or at least was active on it till I was like 20. I don't know. Whatever. Oh great, you guys are all searching for it now. That's just awesome. Jesus. Okay. let us continue our reading, shall we? Let us continue. What are our likes at? I want to know. I must know. Uh, 248. Hey, it's not bad. Not bad, you guys. Wow. I think you guys like me. I think you guys like me. All right. So let's continue. What would Aaron do? What are you talking about? Is Aaron still in here? Oh, Aaron's still in here. You said that. Aaron said that. You gotta get you need to start your own religion now, Aaron. You're obligated. You need shirts and bracelets. And maybe you can be the great Hyperion prophet. That's it. You can be the great Hyperion prophet that gets the Facebook masses to migrate over to YouTube, the promised land. Yes, get the Facebook. Yes, I have this vision. Aaron, you are the Hyperion prophet that will lead the outcast Facebookers to the YouTube promised land. Yes, this is your task. Darcy Hutchcroft, thank you for the $5 donation. And yes, I did wash my hands. And no, you're a liar. You cannot hear me pee because I don't believe you guys now. Because you guys are liars. All right. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Yes, bring them in. Bring the lost souls to us. Bring the damned over so that we may... so that they may have salvation in the YouTube app. Yes, subscribe for salvation. Subscribe for salvation. Yes, that will be my tactic. Sure, why not? By the way, you guys, if you are coming from Facebook, make sure you subscribe too. Don't just come over here and hang out in the chat. Hit the subscribe button. God damn it. Okay. I'm sounding like the wind of God, man. Yeah, I am. Guys, hilarious. I think we're going to have another Apocalypse Hangout this Thursday, by the way. So make sure you're there. Make sure you're there on Thursday. We're having the Apocalypse Hangout. And, oh yeah, we're having a contest too. And just so you know, the end of the contest is on Thursday. But I'm really debating right now. Either we will announce the winners on Thursday or we will extend it 1 week. I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind. And the only reason why I'm thinking about that is because I know that there are some Hyperion artists right now working on things and they're just like, that wasn't enough time to finish. So I'm not sure. We'll see. Either it will be announced on Thursday or it will be extended a week. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Yay, Kizzy, I'm glad you love Thursday nights. We'll see. Okay, let's get back to our reading. I just get you guys are distracting. Okay, but let's get this. So we were talking about the different divisions, right? The different divisions of consciousness. So in our consideration of the 7 minor mental planes, we have merely referred to the 3 elementary planes in a general way. We do not wish to go into this subject in detail in this work, for it does not belong in this general philosophy and teaching. But we may say this much, in order to give you a little clearer idea of the relation of these planes to the more familiar ones. The elementary planes bear the same relation to the planes of mineral, plant, animal, and human mentality and life. The black keys on the piano due to the white keys. The white keys are sufficient to produce music, but there are certain scales, melodies, and harmonies in which the black keys play their part, and in which their presence is necessary. They are also necessary as connecting links of soul condition, entity states, etc., between the several other planes and certain forms of development being attained therein. The last fact giving to the reader who can read between the lines a new light upon the process of evolution, and a new key to the secret door of the leaps of life between kingdom and kingdom. The great kingdom of elementals are fully recognized by all occultists, and the esoteric writers are full of mention of them. The reader of Bulwer's Sanoni and similar tales will recognize the entities inhabiting these planes of life. It seems to me here that they are discussing archetypes. Passing on from the great mental plane to the great spiritual plane, what shall we say? How can we explain these higher states of being, life, and mind, to minds as yet unable to grasp and understand the higher subdivisions of the plane of human mind? The task is impossible. How can we speak only in but the most general terms? How may light be described to a man born blind? How sugar to a man who has never tasted anything sweet? How harmony to one born deaf? All we can say is that the 7 minor planes of the great spiritual plane, each minor plane having its 7 subdivisions, comprise beings possessing life, mind, and form as far above that of man of today as the latter is above the earthworm, mineral, or even certain forms of energy or matter. The life of these beings so far transcends our own that we cannot even think of the details of the same. Their minds so far transcend ours that to them we scarcely seem to think, and our mental processes seem almost akin to material processes. The matter of which their forms are composed is of the highest plane of matter. Nay, some are even said to be clothed in pure energy. What must be said of such beings? So their whole idea of their being of spirit, all they're talking about is mind at a very high level of evolution. And on the 7 minor planes of the great spiritual plane exist beings of whom we may speak as angels, archangels, demigods. On the lower minor planes dwell those whose great souls, whom we call masters and adepts. Above them come the great hierarchies of the angelic hosts, unthinkable to man, and above those come to those who may, without irreverence, be called the gods. So high in the scale of being are they, their being, intelligence, and power being akin to those attributed by the races of men to their conceptions of deity. These beings are beyond even the highest flights of the human imagination, the word divine being the only one applicable to them. Many of these beings, as well as the angelic hosts, take the great interests in the affairs of the universe and play an important part in its affairs. These unseen divinities and angelic helpers extend their influence freely and powerfully in the process of evolution and cosmic progress. Their occasional intervention and assistance in human affairs have led to the many legends, beliefs, religions, and traditions of their race, past and present. They have superimposed their knowledge and power upon the world again and again, and under the law of the all, of course. But yet even the highest of these advanced beings exist merely as creations of and in the mind of the all, and are subject to the cosmic processes and universal laws. They are still mortal. We may call them gods if we like, but still they are but the elder brethren of the race, the advanced souls who have outstripped their brethren and who have foregone the ecstasy of absorption by the all, in order to help the race on its upward journey along the path. But they belong to the universe and are subject to its conditions. They are mortal, and their plane is below that of absolute spirit. Only the most advanced Hermetists are able to grasp the inner teachings regarding the state of existence and the powers manifested on the spiritual planes. The phenomena is so much higher than that of the mental planes that the confusion of ideas would surely result from an attempt to describe the same. Only those whose minds have been carefully trained along the lines of the Hermetic philosophy for years, yes, those who have brought with them from other incarnations the knowledge acquired previously, can comprehend just what is meant by the teachings regarding these spiritual planes. And much of these inner teachings is held by the Hermetists as being too sacred, important, and even dangerous for general public dissemination. Thank you, Roberta, for helping us wake up the world. The intelligent student may recognize what we mean by this when we state that the meaning of spirit, as used by the Hermetists, is akin to living power, animated force, inner essence, essence of life, etc., which meaning must not be confounded with that usually and commonly employed in connection with the term religious, ecclesiastical, spiritual, ethereal, holy, etc. To the occultists, the word spirit is used in the sense of the animating principle, carrying with it the idea of power, living energy, mystic force, etc. As we know, we're just talking about mind here, okay? They're being very fancy about it, but we're talking about mind. And occultists know that that which is known to them as spiritual power may be employed for evil as well as good ends in accordance with the principle of polarity, a fact which has been recognized by the majority of religions in their conception of Satan, Beelzebub, the devil, Lucifer, fallen angels, etc. And so the knowledge of those knowledge regarding those planes have been kept in the Holy of Holies in all esoteric fraternities and the occult orders. And as we know, there is no, like, real... look, there's just separation and unity. There are functions of fracture and functions of unity. And we may use those according to our will. This idea of there being... evil and whatnot is, there is no unchanging evil in the world. Everything is in motion, everything is in flux. We just have the idea of fracture and unity, and that which contributes to evolution and that which does not contribute to evolution, that which contributes to the collective and that which does not. The legend of the fallen angels have a basis in actual facts, as all advanced occultists know. The striving for selfish power of the spiritual planes inevitably results in the selfish soul losing its spiritual balance and falling back as far as it has previously risen. But to even such a soul, the opportunity of a return is given, and such souls make the return journey, paying the terrible penalty according to the invariable law. So... Let me just read the conclusion here and then give a quick summary of what all that means. In conclusion, we would again remind you that according to the principle of correspondence, which embodies the truth as above, so below, Kizzy Young, thank you for helping us wake up the world, says I've received the path of shadow today, and I'm excited thinking about getting a Hyperion tattoo. That's awesome. If you get a Hyperion tattoo, take a picture and send it, so I can check it out and post it. That's awesome. So the principle of vibration manifests on all planes. As above, so below. The centuries-old Hermetic axiom embodies this great universal phenomena. So look, everything that they were just talking about here, as far as the spiritual plane, remember by plane, they're talking about level of consciousness, and by spiritual, they just mean a highly evolved mind. So basically, by these highly evolved minds, they're talking about minds that no longer require an avatar in the holos, or can choose to link to an avatar in the holos if they so will. So, you can even see in the recent video I put out, we're talking about how first you have an avatar in the holos, then you can create a shared dream reality and have an avatar in that shared dream reality, and you see how now we're extending beyond what is generally conceptualized as human. Because let's say we create that shared dream reality. Well, what are our avatars going to look like in that shared dream reality? Probably not human. I mean, could be if we wanted to, but probably not. So you see, once we evolve to that level, we're no longer in the human plane of existence, of consciousness. We've elevated. We've gone to a new plane, what they call spiritual. But I like to get away from that word because it, you have this religious connotation that comes with it. So what we're talking about here, when we reach that other level, that's a great, that's beyond having human avatars when we create a shared dream world together. Because our avatars can be whatever we so will. They could be human if we'd like, but they don't have to be. They can be whatever they so will. Whatever we so will. Okay, so we have this next chapter here, and this is actually a really short chapter. So I think what I'm probably going to do is, all right, things are sliding around. That happens. I think what I'm probably going to do is finish up this chapter because it's a short one, and then we will continue on next week, most likely, I guess, probably. We'll see how it goes. But this is a short one, so the next chapter here, vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Now remember, we're talking about frequency. Frequency is vibration. It's just so archaic to say vibrate. That's such a 1900s term, early 1900s term to say vibrate. You see that in early occult teachings. They talk about it so much, like, oh, the vibrations of the spirits. Well, we're talking about frequency. The great third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe. Very true. That nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. And again, I just want you to recall, as always, that this principle is a manifestation of wow, that's really big. This principle is a manifestation of the source formula. Guys, I have no idea if you can see me right now. If you can, hey, my computer crashed. Maybe you're seeing me, maybe you're not. But guess what? Not only do I not know if you're seeing me right now, I can't see your comments because I had to reboot my computer, and I haven't made my way to the comment section yet. So hold on. Maybe you can see me, maybe you can't, but I'm going over to YouTube and I'm trying to load up the comments right now to see if you're seeing me or I'm in some sort of void, and I don't know where this is going. So hold on, I'm in my YouTube studio going to see if the live stream even exists right now. Oh, apparently I'm live, maybe? Hold on. Oh? Maybe? Yeah, oh! Hello! Hold on. Pop out. Hold on. We might have success here. Do we have success? Let me see. Hello! I missed you, my friend. I missed you, my friends. Hello! Yay! Well, I'm happy that you guys stuck around. So I tried to load up the source formula, and it destroyed my universe. I don't know why, but my computer just did not like that, and it crashed. And, no, I noticed right away. I'm glad that you guys, wow, so many of you guys stayed. So that's awesome. Hello, everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss too much while I was away. But through the miracle of YouTube editing, I'll be able to edit this out. Please try and show us the source formula. No. No. Okay. My PC must be religious. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's really funny. That's really, really funny. I'm not even being sarcastic. That's really funny. Okay. So, all right. We got buffering in circles. Okay, so we have to get to God. We have to get back to the book, and the book is gone. The book has disappeared. So just a moment. God, no, we don't want to start at chapter 1. That's too... guys, we have to start at chapter 1. Here we go. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Let me see. Does this work? Yes, it does. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for bearing with me. Everyone who was on Facebook, well, thank you guys for bearing with me. Everyone who is on Facebook is screwed. Because I think the Facebook live stream is gone. But thanks for sticking around. So we're going to continue. This will be the final chapter because my computer is just going to collapse into a singularity apparently if I go any further. But this is a really short chapter, so we'll finish it up and we'll do it. And then we'll be done with this reading. So let's do this one here. As I said, it's a really short chapter. Vibration. Everything is vibration. The end. No, just kidding. They have more to say about it. But okay. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The great third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. And if you recall our symbol of the source formula, it is indeed a circle that is always in motion that generates vibration, frequency. It all comes down to the source formula. This Hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems, but then for centuries it was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the Hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth, and the 20th century science discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and truth of this century's old Hermetic doctrine. And that's because, in the early 1900s, that's when science really began to discover important quantum mechanic truths. Quantum mechanics. Okay. So the Hermetic teachings are not that only is everything in constant movement and vibration, but that differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of vibrations. Yeah, this is also true. The source formula can take on different frequencies, different rates, different amplitudes, different phases, all these different properties. And from that, we can construct the universe. If you guys don't know, using the waves from the source formula, you can construct any wave, no matter how complicated. If you want to be, again, if you want to get really basic about it, if you imagine that the world is made out of Legos, the waves of the source formula is like the one block Lego. You can literally make everything you could possibly imagine out of it, and everything can be reduced to it. So that's a really good way of understanding what the waves of the source formula are. If everything were made out of Legos, the waves of the source formula would be the one block Lego. Reality is wave-like, and you can use the sinusoidal waves of the source formula to form any wave, no matter how complex it is. Not only this, but even the all in itself manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered as at rest. The teachers directing the attention of the students to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object, such as a revolving wheel, seems to be at rest. The teachings are to the effect that spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, the other pole being certain extremely gross forms of matter. By the way, gross means basic. Gross doesn't mean like, oh, disgusting. I'm sure most of you know that. But if you didn't, gross means basic. Doesn't mean nasty. Between these two poles, yes, it exists between really nasty matter. Oh man, I'm getting punchy here. Okay, between these two poles are millions upon millions of different rates and modes of vibration. Modern science has proven that all we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion. This is true. And some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving towards the position of the occultists who held that the phenomena of mind are likewise modes of vibration or motion. This is true of Max Planck and Erwin Schrödinger. Erwin Schrödinger talked about how everything is but a dream, and Max Planck said that mind is the matrix of all matter. Let us see what science. So again, Planck and Schrödinger, founders of quantum mechanics. Schrödinger, famous for the Schrödinger wave equation, and Max Planck. You know Max Planck from the Planck constant h and h bar, which is a ubiquitous constant that holds together quantum mechanics. Let us see what science has to say regarding the question of vibration in matter and energy. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests in some degree, the vibrations arising from temperature or heat, be an object cold or hot, both being but degrees of the same things. It manifests certain heat vibrations. That's right. Cold and heat is simply frequency, vibrations. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement, from corpuscle to suns. This is not exactly true. All matter is not necessarily in circular movement. That's an old way of looking. It's like the Bohr model of the atom. Electrons and things like this move in much more complex ways. Waves. True though. Much more complex waves than simple circular motion. Okay, so this whole thing is basically saying everything vibrates, from atoms to molecules, everything. So we know all this. And so it is. With the various forms of energy, science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way and probably emanating from the ether. Let's skip the ether bit because that's too complicated, but the rest is true. Not to say that the ether bit, the ether thing is just too complex for this particular video. That'll need a video all on its own. But yes, so E equals mc squared. We know that energy is a function of matter and frequency and all this sort of thing. Mass rather. Science does not as yet attempt to explain the nature of the phenomenon known as cohesion, which is the principle of molecular attraction or chemical affinity, which is the principle of atomic attraction, nor gravitation, which is the principle of attraction by which particles or mass of matter is bound to every other particle or mass. Let me just see what here's. Yeah, so these I'm just skipping through this whole section because some of this is outdated science. But basically, it's saying that everything is frequency, which we know. And then they talk a lot about the ether, which we know in terms of Hyperianism, light is the ether. Okay? So in modern science, this is a point I really want to stress. In modern science says there is no ether, and light moves through nothing. It doesn't need anything to move through. In Hyperianism and Ontological Mathematics, we say that light is the ether. That's why light doesn't need to move through anything, because light is the thing itself. Again, imagine light and the hologram. From the hologram's perspective, there's a lot of things moving around, and it's like, oh wow, how strange that light particle doesn't move through anything. But we, who know that we live in a hologram, which is composed of light, know that light is the thing that is literally everything. Okay? So you see that science has gotten confused because science has taken the hologram to be real, rather than understanding that the hologram is a manifestation of light and mind. Scientists have offered the illustration of a rapidly moving wheel, top, or cylinder to show the effects of increasing rates of vibration. The illustration supposes a wheel, top, or revolving cylinder running at a low rate of speed. We will call this revolving thing the object. In following out the illustration, let us suppose the object is moving slowly. It may be seen readily, but no sound of its movement reaches the ear. The speed is gradually increased. In a few moments, its movements become so rapid that a deep growl or low note may be heard. Then, as the rate is increased, the note rises one in the musical scale. Then, the motion being still further increased, the next highest note is distinguished. Then, one after another, all the notes of the musical scale appear, rising higher and higher as the motion is increased. Finally, when the motions have reached a certain rate, the final note perceptible to human ears is reached, and the shrill, piercing shriek dies away and silence follows. No sound is heard from the revolving object, the rate of motion being so high that the human ear cannot register the vibrations. Then comes the perception of a rising degree of heat. Then, after quite a time, the eye catches a glimpse of the object becoming a dull, dark, reddish color. As the rate increases, the red becomes brighter. Then, as the speed is increased, the red melts into orange. Then the orange melts into a yellow. Then, following successively, the shades of green, blue, indigo, and finally violet as the rate of speed increases. Then the violet shades away and all color disappears, the human eye not being able to register. But there are invisible rays emanating from the revolving object. The rays that are used in photographing and other subtle rays of light then begin to manifest the peculiar rays known as X-rays, as the constitution of the object changes. Electricity and magnetism are emitted when the appropriate rate of vibration is attained. When the object reaches a certain rate of vibration, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original elements or atoms. Then the atoms, following the principle of vibration, are separated into countless corpuscles of which they are composed. And finally, even the corpuscles disappear and the object may be said to be composed of the ethereal substance. Science does not dare to follow the illustration further, but the Hermetists teach that if the vibrations be continually increased, the objects would mount up the successive state of manifestation and would in turn manifest the various mental stages, and then on spirit, until it would finally re-enter the all, which is the absolute spirit. And in Hyperianism, we know that light is mind, and that when something reaches the speed of light, it becomes mind, right? You can't actually increase an object to the speed of light because it would require infinities. But if you could, right? If you could, the object would no longer be an object, it would be transformed to light, which you could call the ethereal substance. And we know that light is mind. So, this is really, really interesting. Really interesting stuff. It must be remembered that in the above illustration, that at the stage at which objects throws off vibrations of light, heat, it is not actually resolved into those forms of energy, but simply that it reaches a degree of vibration in which those forms of energy are liberated in a degree from the confining influences of its molecules, atoms, and corpuscles, as the case may be. These forms of energy, although much higher in the scale than matter, are imprisoned and confined in the material combinations by reasons of the energies manifesting through and using material forms, but thus become entangled and confined in their creations of material forms, which to an extent is true of all creations, the creating force becoming involved in its creations. But the Hermetic teachings go much further than do those of modern science. They teach us that manifestation of thought, emotion, reason, will, or desire, or any mental state or condition are accompanied by vibrations. This is true. Frequencies, a portion of which are thrown off and by which tend to affect the minds of other persons by inductions. Now, this doesn't mean like physically, right? If I think about something, it doesn't mean like physical rays are going to come out of my mind and affect you. That's not what that happened. That's not what that means. Mental patterns exist in the domain of mind, which happens non-locally in the mental domain, not in the local domain of the holos. This is the principle which produces the phenomenon of telepathy, mental influence, and other forms of the action and power of mind over mind. So if we do want to think about ideas like telepathy and things like that, if they are possible, which theoretically should be very possible, however, not, it's not like mind rays are going to emanate from me, right? It's happening in the domain of mind, which is a non-local domain, right? The same way that dreams, well, not exactly the same, but kind of the same. Yeah, I don't want to say that. It's not exactly the same, but kind of the same. Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its correspondence, rate, and mode of vibration. This is true. And by an effort of the will of the person or of the other persons, these mental states may be reproduced. This is also true. Just as a musical tone may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate. This is true. This is what we talk about, when we want to control our emotions and shape our emotions. We're altering mental rates. It's like this idea too. If you close your eyes and imagine a very slowly flashing orb, you'll feel calm. If you imagine an orb of light flashing really fast, you might feel, more energized or more excited, right? This is sort of an idea of mind over matter. Your mental picture, what's happening in your mind, can affect a sensation. Your heart rate increasing, right? One may polarize his mind at any degree he wishes, thus gaining a perfect control over his mental states, moods. In the same way, he may affect the minds of others, producing the desired mental states in them. In short, he may be able to produce on the mental plane that which science produces on the physical plane, namely vibrations at will. This power, of course, may be acquired only by the power, instructions, exercises, practice, etc., the science being that of mental transmutation. A little reflection on what we have said will show the student that the principle of vibration underlies the wonderful phenomena of the power manifested by the masters and adepts, who are able to apparently set aside the laws of nature, but who are in reality simply using one law against another, one principle against others, and who accomplish their results by changing the vibrations of material objects or forms of energy, and thus perform what are commonly called miracles. No. Again, all right, don't start thinking that, that there are people out there right now that can cause earthquakes just by thinking about it. As some of the old Hermetic writers have truly said, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. And this is very true. If you understand the frequency nature of reality, you have the key, the scepter of power, the blueprint to all existence, and you can understand how reality works and shape your world and the world according to your will. Now, this whole chapter, it was a short chapter, but the whole essence of this chapter is saying that everything acts according to frequency. Both the material and the mental. The mental because, it is frequency, and the material because the material is a product of mental frequency. When this book was written, quantum mechanics was just barely getting its legs, so this idea was crazy to most people. Wow, it's mind-blowing. But the scary thing is that a lot of people today, even though quantum mechanics is about 100 years old, many people aren't familiar with the discovery of quantum mechanics, even a lot of materialists. And they think that the world still behaves like little bits bumping into each other, when quantum mechanics is nearly 100 years old and shows clearly that the world is based on wave patterns. And we can break down these wave patterns into its constituent frequencies, and these frequencies are all founded on the source formula. These are sinusoids. Frequencies are sinusoidal waveforms, and they are all derived from the source formula. So once again, this is just showing all of existence is waves. All of existence is frequency. And remember that we're not just sort of saying this like they say it in a very sort of intuitive way. And a lot of people have been saying this for a while. Even a lot of, people like, oh man, it's all frequencies, man. It's all vibrations, man. And that can be like all well and good. But the thing is, with ontological mathematics, we have the equations and we can show rationally and deductively how it must be true, right? It's not just oh, this seems like a really good idea, and when I take a hit of acid, I can see frequencies, so it must be true, man. No, it's and it is true that that you do perceive these things, and the people who say that, they're not wrong. It's just we can now understand it. We have the mathematics to back it up. We don't need faith. We don't need belief. We don't need anything like that. Because the problem is when you have these mystical ways of thinking about it, it starts leading into crazy town. Because guess what? When you take a hit of acid or something, don't do drugs, guys. When you take a hit of acid or something, you see a lot more than just waveforms, right? You see, and you can't. So how do you know what's real and what isn't? Well, that's why we have to apply logic, reason, and mathematics. Because also, you might be and also, we're just like a thought in the mind of a cosmic turtle. So how do you know which one is true, right? You might have a guy saying, it's all frequencies, man. And then at the same time being and we're all thoughts in a cosmic turtle. And so that's the problem, is that when you are in highly intuitive states, yes, you can catch glimpses of things that are true in a certain sense. But you also get a lot of stuff that's all muddled and mixed up. And this is the big difference with Hyperianism and ontological mathematics, is that we place logic and reason above all. We have the mathematics, we have the philosophy, we are a rationalist, idealist system that is rigorous and shows how these things must be true. Okay, that it's the fact that we live in a mathematical reality that's mental, that it's a shared dream, a cosmic hologram, things like this. It is deductively certain. It's not because someone took a hit off of something and thought it was a really good idea. I'm not knocking certain things. I'm just saying that it comes with a lot of craziness if you don't have logic and reason to guide you. So yes, we know that we know the truth of existence. Again, to really illustrate it, what physics has done for the physical world, ontological mathematics does for the domain of mind, and can explain physics and go beyond physics, because mind underlies physics. So, but with that, to get across, it's that level of rigor, and even more rigorous. We are infinitely more rigorous than empiricism, because we are rationalism. For everything that we pour forth, there must be a sufficient reason for why it is that way and not otherwise, which modern physics has no such constraint. It is an empirical system, and empiricism, you can't reach things that are non-empirical. Guess what? The interior of a black hole is non-empirical. You can never empirically probe it. Beyond the reaches of the horizon of what we can visually reach through experimentation is forever beyond empiricism. But we can do so mathematically, rationally, with the mind, by understanding the foundational, deductive first principles of existence, and unraveling and unwrapping everything from there. So let me jump into the comments. Hello, everyone. So good to see you. What we are going to be doing is, I see you guys are talking about something random, but hey, we are going to be wrapping this up, and I want to remind you guys that we are going to be continuing our discussion next week. And what are we going to be discussing next week? Let's take a look. Let's see what the next chapters are. We're getting close to being finished with the Kybalion, guys. So let's take a look and see what the next couple chapters are. We just finished. So we have polarity, rhythm, causation, and then we're going to get into gender and mental gender. And of course, you know me, I'm probably going to get very upset about that. But we'll see what they have to say about that, because what I really like about this is that even though they get a lot of things that are wrong, we can learn a lot from cracking them open and seeing where they go wrong and how we can understand things better by applying logic and reason to that. So guys, make sure, if you haven't seen my video on shared dreaming, that was just released, I think yesterday, by God, yesterday. And it talks a lot about what we were talking about today. So check that out. In a couple days, I'm going to release a video about black holes and holograms. So that's probably going to be coming out definitely this week, in a couple days most likely. And then remember, on Thursday, we are going to be having our Apocalypse Hangouts. So make sure that you're there. And make sure that you are subscribed, okay? And that you've smashed that like button and done all these things like that. And let me see. So good night to everyone. I'm so glad that you joined us, and I will be seeing you next week. Good night, everyone. And I'm just reading some of the final comments. So good to see you, and I will see you next week as we continue our reading of the Kybalion. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion, ad astra, to the stars.